All right, let's see. Testing 1, 2. Mocha, are you there?
I'm here.
You are?
I am. Are you here? Is everybody ready to frickin' party?
We are ready. I think I'm gonna need a hard carry from you from an energy standpoint.
I got you.
And I know you do. Like you might be the perfect person for me to have on for a segment like this today.
Well, I'm good. I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm here to help.
With how
energy. I got you.
I was gonna say you're like the perfect person to invite into something like this because you've got such great energy. I don't really understand, where do you get all of this energy from? It's constant.
I don't know. I'm a relatively energetic person. Maybe it's just from, I did musical theater for 15 years and that's kind of like a high energy. I like to use the term sport, but mostly because when I did musical theater, I did like songs or shows that had, like 15-minute tap numbers.
Sure.
And like, so to me, it was incredibly athletic. So I maybe just having to keep the energy on at literally a 50 million all the time. Eventually your body just is like, oh, so we're just supposed to be like this all the time. Great.
Listen, as somebody who spent the better part of their lives in marching band as a drummer, being an athlete and being, on display in performance mode, it's a sport. It is a sport. Those kinds of performing arts, they're legit and the real deal. And people who throw shade and act like it's not hard work or it's anybody could do it, I'm not about that life.
No, what is up? I played the violin for 10 years and I did a little bit of like symphony and stuff, and so I totally get it. I could never do marching band. My mom played the flute. She was a flautist and she was in marching band, and I was like, I barely want to sit in this chair and play this violin. So like, I don't know how y'all are handling it, but work it out. And it was really great when I went to high school because I went to a pretty competitive high school as far as the arts program was concerned. The sports, they were deplorable, but they like to pretend like they were better than us. So we're like, oh yeah, we play football, and we're like, yeah, but you guys like haven't won a game in years.
Yeah,
so
you guys don't get any more credit than us.
Yeah, we're out here at least like bringing the school recognition because all three programs are like, scoring highly. So when you guys start winning games, then we'll have a conversation.
You know what? It was so bizarre going where I went to high school. It was very similar. The football program was terrible. The music program was really strong, and people used to like throw shade. Now, obviously, like a lot of people, I was in band throughout pretty much the entire time that Drumline, the movie Drumline, was influencing the population. So it was a good time to be in band because people thought Drumline was cool. But it wasn't until I got to college where people started to go, oh, the band is legit, and like we're here to support the football team, but I would come here to watch the band in and of itself. Like, I don't know how familiar you are, and it's not like a toot my own horn kind of thing, but the Ohio State marching band's a big deal, and it is incredible in the Midwest, especially in Ohio. So it was like a really big, like, bizarre thing to finally be a part of an organization that was like widely respected. It was a little strange. It was like, it was a little celeb status for a long time, and I wasn't always comfortable with it for a while.
Yeah, I like also found that very bizarre because when I went to school like 10 minutes away from JMU, so I'm very familiar with the seriousness that is the marching band community. They are no joke. I give them 10 cool points because Lord, and Ohio State is literally legendary anyway, so I'm well aware. Yeah. But I remember feeling that as well, especially when I was like doing musical theater and stuff, because at the time I didn't really know that anybody knew that I was doing it. I thought everybody just knew that I was playing the violin, and then my classmates would show up to my shows and be like, oh my god, Taylor, and I'm like, hello, that's my real name, by the way, guys. I know I just like indicated myself, but yeah, it's happening. They would be like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I do this for 15 years now. And they're like, what? And I don't know how to respond to people reacting that way to me. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, it was so weird. Like my mom, especially when I got into college, she was the kind of lady who, and I'm not making this up. She really did. She had like an embroidered Script Ohio tote bag that she used as her purse, and got one of those football mom huge buttons that had my face in it in my marching band outfit. And she would be the kind of person who would wear it and point it at you. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, my son, he's in the band. You know what I mean? So I quickly early on was like, oh shit, man, I'm not really trying to have you guys out here all up in my business like that.
Yes, it was everything that it took everything in me. My mother from bringing a fat head to my equestrian meets when I was in college. So I was like, she was like, I can buy one, and I was like, first of all, this is not a football game.
Oh,
like,
so funny.
We're gonna scare the horses. Things are gonna happen. I'm gonna get in trouble. Let's just not do that.
Yeah. Oh, so good. If I don't get started on this list, we are going to be here all night. So
for literally forever.
I know you have a stream coming up after this. I keep shouting you out in the chat for anybody in my community who doesn't already follow you. So make sure you guys drop some love on Mocha. We will raid out on her after she gets herself settled for her stream tonight too. So follow her now so you get a chance to rock with her and her community the rest of the night too. I appreciate you coming on. Happy Friday to you.
Hey.
Thank you for being willing to do this. This is always really fun to have people on and to kind of go through this process with me. I'm sorry I'm sick. I'm hanging in there as best I can. I told chat I've got one nostril, so I'm hanging as much as I can, but we're gonna have some fun.
It'll be good. It's all good. We're gonna make it work.
All right, here we go. We'll start with some easy ones. We'll kind of ease into it, and then we'll get the flow going. All right?
Okay, I'm ready.
I want to say this is an easy one. For some people, this one is like real hard. So let's just see. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
NSYNC. Next question.
Oh, easy claps. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. Same answer. Easy question for me. It's not really close in my book.
No, not in my book either. I mean, I love the Backstreet Boys, but like, NSYNC?
Two different tiers.
Sorry,
honestly.
Sorry.
Like,
we're not even talking about the same thing.
Like, I almost feel like Backstreet Boys are a little closer to 98 Degrees than they are to NSYNC. But everybody tries to put them in the same bracket, and I've just never put them in the same bracket.
I think it was just like, I think people just do the boy band tie, and I think that's why they keep like insisting that they're the same thing. It kind of it didn't happen, but it was like, it could have potentially happened with like One Direction and 5 Seconds to Summer. People were like, oh my god, it's like boy bands, like who do you like more? And really you can't even compare them because they were making such different music at the time. They're pretty different as far as age gap. They were kind of appealing at that point. The fandoms had kind of split themselves, and they were kind of appealing to different demographics, and it was just, you know, it's not really the same thing, but NSYNC, no doubt.
I feel it too. I'm laughing. Queen is feeling, she's hurt in the chat. She's feeling hella hurt. And I'm not trying to throw shit. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't listen to any Backstreet, but if you're asking me to choose, I don't think it's close.
No.
Personally.
Yeah. And I mean, Backstreet's Back is a bop. That comes on in the club. Everybody, get it together. We're wrapping up.
It's a bop.
Time to party.
It's one of those things where it, you know, there are some just smash hits that will always carry. But if I gotta pick one group's discography for the rest of my life,
NSYNC. Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry.
I'm right there with you.
Shade.
I'm right there with you. Okay. Question. This isn't like, are you a morning person or a night person? But if you had the option, do you prefer sunrise or sunset?
I actually prefer sunrise.
Ooh. Okay.
Even though I am a night owl, but maybe that makes sense.
Sure. You're up like late enough to see it all the time?
Not all the time, but I have been known to catch a sunrise or two in my day.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, sunset really only, I don't want to say is only, but it's extra special like if I'm on vacation or if I'm in a place that's like unique. Otherwise, I'm probably a sunrise person too.
I feel like I'm often, especially during this time of year when the sunset's so early, I'm fighting the sunset at all times. You know what I mean? I'm like trying to do things before it gets too dark, especially I live in New York City, so like I'm trying to get to the subway, I'm trying to like go do what I have to do, because if I need to go do something, it needs to, like, I mean, I can go at night, like it's pretty well lit where I live, so is that really a big deal? No. But it's also just kind of like, I don't want to be tramping through the streets of New York with groceries and like liquor or shit that I bought from Target or something. You know, I don't want to do that. So I'm kind of always fighting the sun.
Man, so kudos to you for living in New York City and going through the subway, the hassle of like groceries. Like, I say it from this standpoint. The most sort of like normal basic things that I do here in my little suburb life of Midwest Ohio versus the like how much more of a chore it is to get normal things done for you. Crazy.
For sure.
It's absolutely crazy.
Sure.
That's what I mean by kudos.
I just moved to the suburbs in July, so I'm still kind of like, you know, my most recent issue is that I can't seem to find like Pepper Flakes anywhere.
Oh, weird.
You know, like you put on pizza?
Yeah.
Like, put Pepper Flakes on pizza? Okay.
With all the pizza in New York?
Pepper Flakes? No, I cannot find Pepper Flakes, McCormick Pepper Flakes in the grocery store. I have been to, since I've lived here in July, I have been to maybe like 10 freaking grocery stores, bodegas, normal grocery stores.
Nothing.
Weird green groceries. There are no McCormick Pepper Flakes in the city of New York. I am convinced.
They don't sell them on Amazon?
They do, but like also there's a green grocery next door.
Yeah, like you should have it next to you.
Like why isn't it in the store? I have questions.
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I'm not real sure. Well, and I'm also trying to think like if I was in your position, I feel like I am the type of person, and I might be putting myself on blast. I would be running up into one of those New York pizza places and just swiping myself some Pepper Flakes. Like I would not be going July to November without no Pepper Flakes.
No Pepper Flakes?
One way or another, I would have gotten myself some. So
yeah, you were like, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just order some on Amazon, but like, I don't know why, but for some reason I feel stupid like ordering Pepper Flakes on Amazon. They also don't have like McCormick also makes these like pre-packaged like seasoning packets for things like pot roast and gravy and stuff.
Okay.
They only sell like 2 varieties of the gravy, and they don't sell any of like the pot roast flavoring stuff. I make pot roast a lot in the winter. Yeah. And so I'm just like, yo, I can find Czechoslovakian food here in New York, but I can't find some freaking McCormick Pepper Flakes.
That's really weird.
It is so bizarre. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's funny. I appreciate that insight because I would have never guessed you would have so much trouble. You think of how big the city is and how many people live there.
Pepper Flakes if you're trying to cook something.
I guess so. Well, I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. It's pretty straightforward. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out some people in the chat real quick. Nip, it's so good to see you, brother. Love you. Happy Friday. Thank you for all the kind wishes. Everybody's been so sweet to me, being like, yo, Kimbro, don't worry about the stream today. Feel better, so on and so forth. So thank you guys for all the support. My boy Gasfrog, our boy Gasfrog in the chat. Always good to see you, Gas. Welcome in, brother. Hollow, J Ruck, Trigger, Shadow. Thank you guys all for being here. Queenie, so good to have you guys. Thank you. Let me ask you this, Mocha. If you could wake up tomorrow and you've gained one new skill or quality, what would it be? That's what I'm looking for. This is what 21 questions is supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be.
A skill and a quality, or just one or the other?
Hey, it is your show.
All right, I'm answering.
You're like the guest on our couch. Our house is your house. This is however you want to run it.
Okay, cool. Quality, I would love to have more patience. And it's kind of like a tie between these two things, either having more patience or being more positive.
Okay.
I have a tendency to be quite a pessimistic human being.
Okay.
I'm a little like worst case scenario. Like if something goes wrong, I just kind of like toilet bowl into how it could get worse and like, what could go wrong. So if that could go away, that would be great.
You know what? That's really funny that like that's how you get down. It's probably going to serve you well in New York City.
Yeah.
I feel like
there's too many possibilities of things going
and
left.
I feel like it puts you in a position where let me guess, you're probably someone has a decent sense of like their surroundings. Like you're aware of like there's a creepy man following you. Like a lot of times if you're the person who isn't thinking pessimistically or worst case scenario, you probably are oblivious to the world in some ways. And that's probably not good where you're from or where you are.
No. I would imagine it's not. I mean, there have definitely been times where I'm walking on the street where I'm like, do you know where you are right now? Like, I see other people and I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
But,
yeah,
you know, I would agree. I think it is definitely serving me well now, but where it kind of gets me into trouble is if like I make a mistake at work or like I mess something up on my stream or like I don't know, like I think or perceive that I could have upset somebody. It's not like, oh, like, you know, I'll learn from this, life will go on. It's like, nope, you've messed it up. It's
ruined.
It's ruined. You're gonna have to throw it all away. You just burnt it to the ground. Look what you did. Look what you did. So it's like, I think it has its pros and its cons. Just like anything.
Sure.
Just like anything.
That's really funny. My wife's a little bit like that. She's got quite a big bone in her body of, if something goes wrong like that, everything's ruined forever. Or you know, if that came out strangely, this person's gonna think I'm the biggest idiot in the world, or you know what I mean, like just little things like that where I think oftentimes people are thinking way more about themselves than they are us. Like just on like throughout the day, the baseline is that people are way more concerned with the shit they've got going on.
Damn straight.
Yeah, I feel it.
It's crazy. But and the reality of the situation is that nobody's probably thinking about that stupid little mistake that I made that like one person commented on. I'm just kind of like, my brain is like, everybody's done.
Nobody noticed. Yeah, I feel that.
You're freaking out.
My boy Hollow says, I came up from a subway in the middle of Queens at 3 a.m. That was a moment.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I was on the subway during rush hour, like, because I work from home, so our job has allowed us to do this thing where we get this app called Croissant, and it basically just gives you access to, if there are like co-working spaces in your area that are like, they can offer up like 3 or 4 spaces so that people who use Croissant can just take them, and that way they're always filling the space. Or they have the potential to always fill the space, because co-working spaces are still kind of new, and lots of people have been using them, but since COVID, their uses have kind of blown up a little bit, and I think it's just like a much more mainstream concept because it was kind of limited to metropolitan areas like New York and Chicago and LA and stuff for a while. So now they're kind of all jumping on that bandwagon and they're offering up spaces. And I got on the subway at rush hour twice this week, and I tried to avoid it the second time, and boy was that crazy. It was just, so I totally understand. The subway can be a weird place.
Yeah, I've actually never been to New York. I've never been in a subway. I've never really done mass transit like that, and I'm worried now that after COVID I will feel extra sketch about it. Like,
oh yeah, you have no idea. You have no idea.
I wasn't really a germaphobe growing up, but you know, this has changed everybody.
No way. I don't know how because I've been to New York multiple times. Like, we used to come every year for Thanksgiving-ish time, like sometime between October and November, we would come, and because my mom's from Long Island. Okay. So we would come and just visit the city because my mom likes the city, and our family's from the Bronx, which is about like 30 minutes north from where I live right now. So it was just kind of, you know, we just come here because it's something that I personally think everybody should just see and experience for the first time, even if you decide you fucking hate it and you never want to go back. Like, just to be like, yes, I've been, like, I know what I'm talking about, let's move forward. But I don't know how we used to ride subways and mass transit or go into public restrooms without masks on.
It's crazy
because I see people on the subway now who don't wear their masks, and I'm like, I don't know what kind of brand of superhuman you are, but I'm gonna need you to be over there.
Yeah,
like, it is. You have this shit bottled or
something else.
Over there.
It's so funny. I feel like I wasn't very judgmental of people. And this is not to be, 21 questions turning into a whole thing, but I definitely notice people more, especially if I see their face when we're not all supposed to see each other's faces. I just catch myself looking at people sideways like, wait a minute.
You just peeping. Hey, I see y'all. You're just out here peeping.
Hollow says, I was shocked by how quiet the subway was in the morning. Everyone's eyes were closed and no one was talking.
No one is talking.
That's so strange.
Nobody's talking on the subway anymore. There is zero silence.
That is wild.
Except for like the loudest thing that I've ever had happen to me on the subway was this guy got on the subway who had like literally a stereo system. Like, he had like 3 little, like, what almost looked like Beats pills or something, like, rigged together with another, like, stereo-looking situation sound system in his backpack, and he was blasting music in the stereo car, and me and all the people are like, Are we in the same place? Like, this isn't a club, right? We are definitely riding the subway.
That is
like,
hilarious.
We're gonna go deaf from this dude. But anyway.
Oh my god.
All right, guys. Subway tangent.
I definitely would love to be in New York just to people watch a little bit. I just feel like that's a full-time thing.
It's so fun.
Just catching people. Mocha, what personality trait do you think has gotten you in the most trouble?
Probably my brevity, or well, not brevity, but my being very blunt. I can be quite upfront.
What do they call it? Not obtuse. Terse? Is that the word? There's a big word for someone who's like blunt.
Yeah. There's a big fancy scholastic word for what we're talking about. It's escaping me at the moment. But it's just like, you know, I have a tendency to come off, I guess people have told me that I come off very aggressive, which is something in my adult life that I'm so aware of, that I'm concerned at this juncture that it's almost at a fault. Like, I'm being too nice to people. And because I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh, because I don't want anybody to perceive me as being aggressive or confrontational.
Sure.
Which could also be a result of my being biracial and my being a Black woman. So people often, you know, statistically it has been proven that Black women are often immediately perceived as confrontational, aggressive, whatever. So that may be what it is as well, which honestly I'm totally fine with. Here living in New York, I wish that more people found me off-putting so immediately as other people have, because it's kind of like nowadays I can't get people to not talk to me and just like, please don't talk to me.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be spoken to. Please don't.
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
But it has definitely gotten me in trouble. Like, my friends will be like, well, that was kind of, you know, okay, God, like I'm like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to say it because we're over here, we're doing this. So let's move forward.
You know, and I think there's a lot, there is a lot of dancing around things with a lot of people. And I do think it's always valuable to have that like specific skill set to be able to, you know, tell things like it is, be very transparent, be very open and honest, but having the ability and like delivering it with tact, like, right, like having the ability to sort of like express what you want to say without hurting feelings or without belittling others. Like, that stuff is really important, and walking that fine line, especially like you said, if you're automatically perceived off of biases that people hold about the way you look, it can be very challenging.
Right. So it's kind of like, I feel like I started on one end of the spectrum and now I backed myself all the way back up into the opposite corner, and I'm like, okay, I'm clearly being too nice to people, and I'm not too nice to people, but somebody told me the other day that I'm long-winded, which I did not register that it was coming off like my talking a lot comes off as long-winded.
Okay.
And then it does take me a while to get to the point, and I'm like very aware of that now. And I'm like stressed out. So every time
I've been told that before, and it's an interesting thing. I mean,
it's so weird.
I personally think that it's not a bad thing. Like, I would rather be an over communicator than an under communicator.
That's how I feel.
So I'm not necessarily upset by it when people said that to me, but it did catch me a special way. And like you said, I started to notice it. I started to be like, ooh, this might be a moment where you might be trying to say that about me.
Yeah.
But I also think like it makes for good storytellers.
I agree.
So
that's how I feel about it. Is that I think that's what it must be. Like, I just am so used to, and also I'm one of those people that like I can't jump into a conversation. Okay, especially if we're gonna get down the line to something that you need to know about for this conversation to make sense for you and I to be vibing on the same level. Especially if it's like tea. Yeah. You know, it's like drama or tea I gotta give you. I can be like, oh bitch, let me tell you what just happened. Backstory.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean?
We need context. We need context.
Because it's not gonna live the same or hit the same when we get to the story, and then I have to stop and explain it to you anyway.
Yes,
so
and it falls flat, and then we both are upset. I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Like,
that's why I said I'd rather go over communicator. And my wife looks at me sometimes, especially depending on the topic, or if she's in a bad mood, where it'll be mansplaining. And I'd say like that's like the most frustrating part, because I don't usually try to mansplain. Like, that's not really a part of it. But I also am a big believer that you need proper context in order for my thing to land properly.
I have jokes, okay? I'm not here to waste my jokes.
Exactly. I think I know the answer to this, but would you consider yourself a leader or a follower?
A leader.
Yeah. I felt that one big time.
I'm an only child, so I'm like a very individual type of person, very individualistic. I wouldn't say like I strive to be like on the edge or off the cuff, or I'm not like looking to be out there, or that's not necessarily what I mean by being an individual, but I just consider myself like I can lead myself, I can kind of do things. I'm very like singular for whatever reason, which is probably because I grew up as an only child, so I'm kind of like, well, I don't have anybody else to blame if somebody like breaks the cup, it's all my fault, or if somebody eats the last piece of pizza or whatever. So it's kind of, I felt that way, but I also really enjoy mentorship and kind of getting to lead people and the opportunity to lead people to their greatest potential and stuff. It's one of my favorite things to do, and something that I often strive to do or strive to be. I'm kind of at the beginning of my professional career, so
doing some of that.
It's been kind of weird because I have to be a follower because I just don't know, and that like I just don't know is, for my brain is computing it as unacceptable. My brain's like, well, why don't you know that? Like, you should know that. Duh. And I'm like, well, I've only been doing this for 6 months, and they're like, well, it's unacceptable. You should just know how to do it. So figure it out. So it's kind of because I am that like leader aspect. Like if somebody asked you, they needed your help or asked you to do it, like what would you do? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm kind of coming to terms with the opposite side of that spectrum and trying to figure out what the heck to do and how to function and how to learn to be a leader in the most effective way and be the best follower that I can be without being, needy or not being able to figure things out on my own. It's such a weird balance, and
it is. And I'm interested to see how your professional career plays out too. I feel like a lot of people, especially if they're like us, there is, for lack of a better term, like a hierarchy that we have to climb professionally until we reach a point where we become a manager of our own or have direct reports on our own. And then to our earlier conversation, having the wherewithal and the professional skill set to be able to lead people while you're still a person who can be blunt or, very to the point, or like you said, lack of patience or whatever. Like those kinds of traits mixed with somebody who's a go-getter and a leader, I bet you will have to sort of figure out how to navigate those waters on your own, especially if you end up with a team working for you. I'm not saying you can't do it. I completely think you will, but it's just, especially once you're like a follower for a long time, but you're really a natural born leader on the inside, you like learn how to navigate in that world. And then you go 0 to 60 when you get something and a bunch of people working for you. And then like not bringing them along on the journey when they don't do it the way you wanted it to be done, or they have their own learning styles. That is really, really hard to figure out. And it takes a long time, and not everybody ever gets there. Like there's a ton of bosses who never learned how to do that. So definitely tough.
Yeah, it's something that it gives me a little bit of anxiety because I've never had so much uncertainty professionally.
Yeah.
I've worked a lot, and I did, the restaurant industry for about 7 years. And, by the time I was in that about 2 years, I was in it. I knew what I was doing. I knew what I had to do. Like, I was basically, I don't think I was a head server quite yet, but I was well on my way to becoming one, and I probably could have been one if I really wanted to. I just didn't want the responsibility of having to deal with customers.
Sure.
When you're a manager, that's who they call, I don't want to talk to them.
That's what you use. Well, and that's the other hard part that I have had to learn for myself is when you ascend and you work really hard and you are a leader and you put out good work, they naturally will promote you to different roles and positions. But at some point, you'll get to a spot where you stop doing the stuff that you care about, the stuff that like you were really passionate about that got you the promotion, and then you just deal with the administrative and like political stuff. So like in my role, the stuff that I went to school for and the stuff I really care about, the guy who I hired to be like my right-hand man, he does it. He does the fun stuff. I do like the not fun stuff working with our bosses and like doing the reports and the, you know, the paperwork side of it. That part is an awkward part to get into in your, you know, early part of your career as well, because you start to question like, man, this is tough. I really got into it for this. Because I was good at it, they now let me do this. I don't know that I love this. You know what I mean? So
and, like it's kind of weird where in the industry that I work in social media, so I basically like run and create content for, you know, various social media accounts, and I'm kind of doing now what I would classify as the grunt work, and I would love to have the opportunity to kind of do those higher level things and kind of look at things from a bird's eye view versus being so granular. But in order to look at things from a bird's eye view, you have to understand how the granular things work. So and that's something that I learned from the restaurant industry, because I was a host, I was an expediter, I ran food, I have washed dishes, I've worked at every different type of restaurant, and by the time I got to being a head server, I was like, I knew how long everything was gonna take. I knew what everything meant and how all the pieces fit together, so that if shit did hit the fan, I knew where the disconnect was. You know what I mean? I wasn't just like pulling shit out of my ass and hoping that that was the right answer.
Yeah.
And I guess now that because I lived in that area of certainty for so long, having to start from scratch and being like, I don't know if this is right, but I think it's right, and I don't really have any gut experience or instinct to tell you for sure if it's right. So I'm just gonna.
And that cognitive dissonance is really awkward and hard to work through, and it's especially because, like you said, you're used to a certain level of mastery, and now you're being reverted back to a level of foundational building again.
Nothing.
And it's like, I don't want you to think I'm ignorant. I don't want you to think I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want, you know, I want my work to be quality, but I also don't know enough to make sure that I even got it right. Like, it's very tricky.
I don't even know, like, I don't even know enough to tell you for certainty what quality is, because I could write something and then somebody who's been doing my job, or is where I want to be, who has, you know, she's been working in, my boss. Yeah. She's been doing it for like 8 years, and she'll go in and like, and rewrite it. Yeah. And I'm like, see, I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, you know what I mean? I thought it was good. And it may not have been bad. She might have just been like, oh, well, I just want to rewrite it, because I have this one thing in my head, and this is what I wanted to do, because I think that's best. So it may not even be me, but I don't even have been doing it long enough to even discern the difference from those types of things. So it's like,
it's a whole thing. You'll get through it. Everybody sort of works through that. You'll be fine. It'll all work itself out. I have no doubt. This is definitely like a roller coaster part of your career, though. So hang in there. Hang in there. My boy J Ruck wants to know, what's your astrological sign? Finish your thought.
I was just gonna say I'm a Taurus. I was gonna say J Ruck, I'm a Taurus.
A Taurus. I'm not really big into astrology. Like, I don't know a ton. I know I'm a Pisces. I don't know what that means relative. I know my wife's a Cancer, and when we first started dating, she was like, they are supposed to be together. Yes, I don't even know.
Taurus, that's so funny, because yes, Cancers and Pisces are, you know, very compatible. My boyfriend is a Taurus, and the Tauruses are very notorious for really only getting along with other Tauruses in like romantic relationships. They have like a weird thing about that. I think the other sign that does that could be, I don't even know. I'm not going to say and guess, because I think I'm going to be wrong. So, but yeah, I get into astrology a little bit. My roommate is really, really into it. So I like to talk to her about it a lot, because she knows like
she's like an expert,
and the sun and the planets, and you know, it's like a far more deep-rooted thing than I know. But I find it very, very interesting, just because I like anything, you know, I'm very like Myers-Briggs test, personality numbers. I just like things that help me understand me better.
Sure, absolutely. And it's funny, because I remember early in like COVID, when all you could do was like go on walks at lunch with your spouse or your significant other, and there would be moments where like we were cruising so easy through COVID, and then like we had like a spell of like weird stuff and arguing that never happened in our relationship. And it was the first time Rita was like, oh, I mean, Mercury's in retrograde, so it makes sense. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? What is this? And I'd never heard it. I was like legitimately 32 years old, like the first time I ever heard that phrase.
And you were like, what?
Had no clue.
It's a thing. Something happens with the shift of gravity. I don't know, but it gets weird.
Gatorade and retro Jordans. I love it. I would prefer that, actually. That's so funny. My boy, Icy Wild Gamer, welcome in, by the way. Sarah, welcome in. Love you guys. Good to see you. Wild wants to know if you could pick one game, movie, TV show to represent your life and watch the rest of your life, what would it be?
I don't know how much this represents my life, but if I had to watch it for the rest of my life, I would pick any of the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. Oh. I have zero preference on which one. I just love them all.
Any of them. You know what? I don't hate me. Never seen them.
No, I will not hate you.
Never seen them. Never seen the Harry Potters. Haven't seen Game of Thrones. So like there's a whole like general line that I haven't gotten into that I catch a lot of heat for from a pop culture standpoint. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying, like, see, look, J-Rock, oh God. Like, every time I say that I don't, like, I know in general what's happening in those, but I've never actually sat down and powered through them. And my wife she's mad at me for it. She's like, how do we get married and you've not seen those things?
Yeah, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, my boyfriend just finished Game of Thrones maybe 2 months ago. If that. Okay. And we've watched the first 2 Harry Potter movies.
Okay.
And he is the first, as an episode, not the first Star Wars movie, but episode 1. Which is the first of the prequels.
Yes.
So you've seen
starting
that one.
in order of the content.
Yes. We decided to watch them in chronological order versus in the order of release.
Personally, that's the way I did it that way. I made my wife do that when we started it in COVID. I just think it makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense. If you're not already, like, if you didn't live in a world where you had to watch them that way, because my dad introduced the movies to me when I was, like, maybe 6 or 7. So I've seen them, all of them, as they were released. I watched the 3, that came out in the 2000s in the movie theater with my dad. I went and I saw the brand new ones that just came out. Like, I've seen them all. I had no choice. Now, given the choice, I would recommend that you watch them 1 through 9 in the order, or in the order that the story was meant to be told.
Yes.
Because if you start watching that shit out of order, you're gonna get to them 70s movies and you're gonna be like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yep.
The CGI I feel like there's too many things at that point because they're not as technologically advanced as we obviously are.
Yep.
It's gonna break your immersion completely and you're gonna hate every minute.
I completely agree. And that's actually kind of the selling point that I had for my wife. Selling point for my voice. Like, she was like, people were telling her, like, no, you should watch them in the order they were released. And I was thinking to myself, we can't do that. Because it is a huge, in air quotes, galaxy. It's a huge universe that you're trying to wrap your hands around. And like you said, it'll break your immersion and you'll be out if you start catching Jar Jar Binks in the first 3 hours of you watching content and you are trying to understand whatever's going, like, it's really tricky if you've got the CGI issues and the problems all at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mess.
The CGI in the first 3 is not amazing. It's not as great as the newest ones, obviously, because they're like, 20 freaking years apart, but it's a little bit closer to what we know as common CGI effects.
Yeah.
So if there is a little grating around the outside, like, shit, that happens today. I cannot tell you how many freaking Amazon Prime shows that I have watched in, like, recently where I'm like, I can literally see the green screen. I can see the shadow of the green screen.
Yeah.
But it's whatever, like, you know what I mean? It's not my problem. But it's just more palatable, especially to somebody who's brand new. And unless you've watched Star Trek, having to intake all those races, the different languages, the space
it's just a lot.
factor, science, there's like weird terms and shit. It's a lot.
It is. And J-Ruck says 9. Yeah, there's 9 official movies, but I would even call it 10 because
11.
Well, Rogue One especially. Like,
yeah, that is the one that I include Rogue One and Solo in the 11, but Rogue One more so.
We watched Solo. We watched all 11. But to your point, like, if you were gonna start, you could probably miss Solo, and like, it's definitely the most missable of all of them. You're good if you don't catch
100%,
that.
100%.
How do people watch all of those? Well, I would say a lot of people watch them over like a long period of time. Like what's crazy about the whole thing is when you think about the like time frame in the lifespan, it wasn't like some of these Marvel movies where they were like boom, 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 every Christmas you were expecting a new one. Like, obviously 40, 50 years worth of content. So But I think I will say this, from a pop culture standpoint and from like a quality standpoint, I think they are timeless, and it's good to know the whole. You will not get to the end and be like, oh, I shouldn't have watched that. As I'm dying.
Guys, it's fine.
Kayla, what's going on? Good to have you,
Hi,
sis.
Kayla.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for your kind words. Yes, we stand Mocha's makeup. We always love it. Miss Kimbroplays is always like, she gets. So okay, I got a little sidebar for you.
I think I know what you're gonna talk about. We have to talk about this.
Well, we've talked about a little bit, but I have an update for you because she's big in her nail game. Like it's a real thing for her, and she recently, I told you she gets down on this company called Le Mini Macaron, which is like familiar. A UV light with like their like nail polish whole, like it's an eco-verse of nail polish stuff. She does her own nails, does them really well. I didn't tell you this. Like within the last 2 months, she like applied to join a Facebook group of like nail aficionados. Okay. Like it's like almost like it's like an influencers club, but it's really more like people who are diehards on Le Mini Macaron. And she not only did she get accepted to the group after filling out some like application online, the CEO of the company like regularly comments on the pictures she shares and like gives her like kudos for like great work on her hands. She like she squeals and is so excited like every time. It's pretty hilarious.
I love it.
Craziness. Absolutely craziness. All right.
Yes, I was just talking to KJ about the lipstick game thing, and I was like, I have to wear the fun lipstick today because everybody's and we were just talking about it. We have to set a standard for people. I love it. For people who wear lipstick who come on 21 Questions, they have to wear. You do have to, and KJ did too. I'm pretty sure KJ rocks purple, right? She was doing big things that night too. So. That's so funny. It's been a hot minute. Well, maybe not. Maybe you're already back in the flow. For me, it's been a long time since I've been in a movie theater. I don't think I've been in a movie theater in like 2 years.
What is your go-to like movie popcorn move? Are you a no popcorn person at the theater? What do you do to get it ready? Like how's that whole process look?
I am whatever the biggest tub of popcorn that they sell. I want that one. The biggest one that they have. And then I'm just hit it with the little drizzle on the top with the butter. Okay. Just on the top. Okay. I don't want to be like, my fingers sticky. I don't have time for that shit. I want to be able to enjoy the rest of the movie. But I just like that little top layer to just be a little like, have a little glisten to it. And I just pop. And then once we get to like, you get to like, about 2.5 inches in or so, and you're Gucci. You're ready to partay. You just ready to stick your whole hand in there. By that time, everybody's in. And we have the little cherry smoothie, or not, what is it? The icy? Yeah, icy. I'm a sucker for a cherry icy.
So, I mean, that's a classic combo. It really is.
I like it. It's good. I haven't had that.
I do like that. I know. It's been a long time, and I'm a big movie theater popcorn person. The one thing I will say to like tack on, this is a pro tip that I learned from my dad. In order to not have to get up like mid-movie or get to a certain level, especially if you go with a big tub, before you go into the theater, stop off at the little stand where you can like grab your napkins and all your stuff.
Yes.
Take the movie theater popcorn, take a single napkin, like put it in like a bowl, like inside of your hand, pour salt in it, and then wrap it like closed from the four corners. Then stash it in the pocket. Now, we're an hour and a half into the film. The top layer's gone. You're into the middle. You grab it, you kind of spout it, and you sprinkle, right? So now we've got mid popcorn bowl, fresh salt, last you through the end. You're big chillin'. John Kimbrough.
Caps for Daddy Kimbrough.
Yeah, that's like, he taught me how to tie my shoes and ride my bike, and a classic movie theater move.
Boom.
Yeah. Boom. That's a big win. That's how you parent. That's how you parent.
Damn it.
That's how it's done.
Life skills, okay?
I got a question for you. If you could bring back any fashion trend, what would it be?
Probably Shit. I'm trying to think of what I was watching. I know that this has got to be the hardest thing to maintain, and I don't even know if I would do it, but like Tina Turner in the What's Love Got to Do With It video.
Okay.
I want it to be okay for me to wear my hair like that and wear that outfit. I want no questions. I live in New York, so I could wear it.
Yeah.
But the hair was a lot, but she just did it so like rocker chic.
She really did.
It just looked so badass on her. And it was so funny because I was watching The Witches, like the old Roald Dahl movie. Like over Halloween, and there's a woman in there who like goes up to the main character and she has that haircut and it looks bananas. But freaking, oh my god, she makes it look so good. Or Whitney Houston's whole
yes,
that shit, her look, and that with the little bow and the perm curls.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you know? What do you know?
Look at her freaking hair, y'all. Look at her hair.
Oh, that was wild.
So good.
That was wild.
It is wild. It looks so good on her.
She does pull it off. She does pull it off like nobody's business. That's a good one.
Turning the freaking patina, okay?
Oh, that's as good of an answer as I've ever gotten on that question. That's a really good one.
I love Tina Turner.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
So good. Okay.
Timeless.
Love it.
I think underrated.
I think so too.
I think underrated.
I know the 80s are excess. 80s are excess. And we're kind of having a resurgence of the 90s, which like I could have really lived my whole life without. But we're here now. I say it's time to bring back the 80s. It's time to do it. Let's look at some excess.
I'd be with it. I mean, yeah.
Bright colors. Things that look crazy.
There's some artists who got overshadowed by future generations and didn't get as much time to influence like others.
Yes.
Tina's sort of in that group.
I agree.
Okay.
She's so fabulous.
I love this question. This is one of my favorites. I asked this to Kinston Killa, and he had a great answer too. Your streaming career has popped off so much so that you now have a network cable daytime talk show, like in the Ellen time frame, right? Like you've got that kind of sphere of influence, right? That Rolodex. You can get really anybody to come on. Who's your first celebrity guest on the show?
Lady Gaga.
Ooh.
Lady Gaga. I need to speak to Stephanie Germanotta. I need to talk to this woman. I need to know. I need to know what she knows. Whatever it is that is in her head. We need to talk. Me and that lady.
That's an interesting one. I didn't expect you to have somebody so fast, but that's a good one.
Oh my god. Lady Gaga, I'm like, oh my god, I have a problem. I mean, my answers are always gonna be like Lady Gaga or Rihanna. Those are like my two choices.
Rihanna
so just
good.
Because she's so, oh my god. First of all, babe status. Like, I just want to see her in person just so I can look at her.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But also, she's so like, she just seems like she would be so fun to hang out with, and I'd be like, cut the cameras, we're gonna go to the bar, I'll see y'all later. But
I'm like 99% sure I read it recently, like somewhere in the last 6 months, she surpassed she's like the highest grossing female like in the world. Like,
yes, she's the baddest bitch on the planet.
Like you know, everybody like rocks with her because of her music, but like people don't even realize like she has like this beauty and makeup line that is massive.
And a lingerie line that she just extended into a pajama line.
It's crazy.
Come on.
We haven't heard her drop a song in a long time, but she's been out here making moves. She's been moving in the shadows for a long time.
Damn straight.
Yes.
She's out here really making
Is
money.
Fenty her company? Is that what that is?
Yes.
Yes.
Fenty is her.
That
Fenty
is
Beauty.
nuts.
And then Fenty Savage Fenty is the name of the lingerie
Okay.
line. Yes. J-Rock, I'm dying to try her makeup. I'm dying. I haven't had a chance to because when I went and got my skin match, of course, they didn't have my color. But
sure.
I'm dying. I need it.
That's she would be a great one. Gaga, obviously. Love Gaga.
I just want to hang out with Gaga and like have some pasta, you know, and just like talk to her and listen to her play the piano.
You know what?
And sing with her, and that's it. That's what I want.
Do you follow? Are you familiar with Hot Ones on YouTube?
No.
So the magazine Complex has a YouTube channel, and well, it's a branch of their like whole company. It's like it originally was their like food review line. It was called First We Feast, and that YouTube channel turned out this like huge, it's this massive thing now. If you go onto YouTube at some point and you look it up, it's called Hot Ones, and it's this guy who brings on celebrities and musicians and asks them a series of 10 questions while they eat progressively hotter hot wings, like spicier hot wings. And
oh my God.
I mean, the episodes are golden. It's like
yes,
so
oh my
funny.
God, that's probably amazing.
And
I would
they're
do that with celebrities with Bean Boozled.
well, what I was gonna say, Bean
that.
Boozled is a good one. I was gonna say, like, for your show, like, you could probably like break bread over like pasta and like garlic bread with people.
That
like,
would be so good.
And just like interview people, like,
that.
you know what I mean? Like the whole concept of like interviewing people while you guys do something as basic and remedial as eating is like ingenious in and of itself.
It is. It's so good.
And Hot Ones is
so weird.
Like gimmicky from the standpoint of like they're trying to like get your reaction on camera of you eating like Ghost Reaper peppers, right? So, but like in your thing, it would be like it's just a family cooked meal. Like we're just there's huge portions and we're just talking about life and things that are going on. I love the idea.
Yes, I love that. That's awesome. That's kind of that reminds me of what Chelsea Handler did that for a little while. She was like having people over to her house for dinner, and they were literally just like
it's a great idea
coming and hanging out at her house. And
oh yeah, I think I did see that.
Action Bronson does it now with Fuck That's Delicious, but that's just him and his friends getting high and like eating and amazing
he's
food.
one of the first like founding guests on Hot Ones. The guy who does it and Action Bronson are like really close because they're both in New York City. And like, so anyway, Action probably was heavily influenced by Sean and Hot Ones. It's great. You definitely need to check it out.
I have to check that out. And something I forgot to tell you, Kimbro, we were talking about Drumline earlier. Nick Cannon I just saw Nick Cannon.
No, you did not. Is he in New York? I thought he was out in LA.
He was here for like a day because I live in Harlem, and they did the Harlem lighting, whatever the hell, they lit the Christmas lights, and he like led the parade or whatever. I'm telling you, he made that Drumline movie, and he has been milking that shit for years.
He really
and they were like, because all the promo was like, Nick Cannon is the drum master or whatever, like is gonna be our like leading the march, and I'm like, he did Drumline like 15, like it's so long, guys. How is he still milking this
I have no idea, and I gotta tell you,
he sure was there.
You probably feel this way about certain things too. When you are so ingrained and like in the weeds on a specific like skill or like entertainment segment, when you know how the sausage is made behind the scenes, you sometimes struggle to get there with things that make it popular, right? And Drumline for me is actually one of those things. Like when I was at like practicing and drumming at a high level, and then I see Nick Cannon's fake ass like literally,
don't even get me started with people playing the violin.
Like he was always like this.
And TV.
You would never see his hands and the drumsticks at the same time. If you watch the film, you will see him like this, and then you'll see like hands, right? You'll never see him and the sticks, and that used to like literally tear me up.
Okay.
He's a poser.
If you watching people play the violin on movies and TV has got to be the most painful shit I've ever done in my life, because it's hard and it's weird and it's awkward. I get it, but they'll be like playing like up-tempo classical music, and all the people in the band are like,
you just know when you know what it's supposed to look like, and you see someone doing it wrong on film, and then like you said, they've turned it into an entire career's worth of noteworthiness. Like he definitely in drumming circles is like, my man's was faking the funk and he's still out there. Like
it's so funny. It cracks me. I was literally talking to my boyfriend about it. I was like, yo, how the fuck is Nick Cannon making a movie off of this damn Drumline movie?
He's something else.
Like 12 fucking years ago.
He is something else. Yeah. He is something else. Okay, I got a good one. This one's a fun one. I haven't asked this in quite a few episodes. Who is the most interesting person in your extended family? Tell us about
it. The most interesting person in my extended family, including family and friends.
Yeah, like the people in your atmosphere. Like, who's the most interesting person that has like a weird, quirky story or job or ability? Like, who would we find interesting in your life?
I know a couple of people. I know quite a few like people who make wine for a living. Like literally like people who just like smash up grapes and like pick grapes and are like, yes, this would go well with this
Do they own wineries?
No, but they like work for the wineries.
Okay,
so
okay.
like the wineries will hire the winemakers to make wine, and then they'll just kind of do that. And that I find that very fascinating.
Yeah.
But the most interesting person in my life, genuinely, I think, is my mom has a cousin, and her name is Sniff. And she is biracial like me. She's got a white mom who's a ginger and a black dad.
Wow.
And she married another white man, another ginger, actually. And I think her life is so interesting because she has a law degree and she's incredibly smart, and her husband is a lawyer, but she gave her life up as a lawyer to raise her kids. And now she has 4 biracial children who are all completely different in appearance.
No way.
Other than like the actual bone structures of their face.
Yeah.
And like just like understanding how she navigates her life and their lives as, you know, with that, you know, kind of thing happening all the time. I mean, the oldest is kind of very similar to you and I, Kimbro. He's relatively fair of skin, but he's, you know, light with dark brown hair. But he has a younger sister, and she is ivory with freckles, green eyes, and red hair.
Yeah.
And she has a younger brother, and he is ivory as well with bright, like dark, bright blue eyes.
Yeah.
And slick, straight black hair. And they have a younger brother who is like basically albino with bright, like almost white blue eyes. And it is like so crazy. Like, and I always love talking to her, and like the girl is kind of now going to high school, and her brother is 2 years older than her, and the youngins are, I believe, still in elementary school. But just like understanding her life and how the hell she manages to navigate a situation like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how she's doing it.
That is
I don't know how she's
interesting.
doing it. And I think I think her life and just kind of the way it kind of played out is so interesting, because at least it's kind of the way that I feel as somebody who's biracial. So I feel like we're kind of not the first biracial people, but there is like a lot of us all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And there like have been biracial people before, but we're just kind of in droves at this point, and you can't really escape us now.
Mm-hmm.
And so meeting other biracial people is relatively uncommon for me, but I always get really excited when I meet them, because I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. Especially people who are mixed with like black and white, because that's what I'm mixed with. Like, you know, kindred spirits and all that. But it's always interesting to kind of talk to her and see what her life is like, and what like the kids are going through, and what they're doing, and how they're functioning. Like, how do they explain that to other kids, and how is that? Because I mean, I remember struggling myself trying to explain to people that my dad was white, my mom was black, and that like, you know, that doesn't really mean anything, but nobody else really knows that it means something. Especially I grew up in the antebellum South in one of the original 13 colonies, so that was nice too.
Yeah, wow.
Which I'm sure fed into that a lot more than it would have. But I just find her very fascinating, and her children very interesting. I wanted to be a geneticist as a kid, so maybe that's why I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
Because that's all genetics.
I was going to say, that's probably, like, in and of itself is the most interesting part, that no matter what she was, that her kids are all uniquely different relative on the spectrum. That, without the rest of it, which is also interesting, is fascinating. So
it's like cats.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Cats can come out looking however, you know what I mean? You could have a black cat, a white cat, a speckled, like you could have any kind of cat no matter what their parents are. Yeah. So it's just crazy.
That's so
my
funny.
family's like, have another one, let's see what happens. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Everybody's like voting on it, like it's like a pick 'em
like,
pool.
Yes, bingo. Freaking putting up polls and shit and doing the most.
Oh, it's so funny.
Crazy.
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly the type of answer that I wanted to know, because that's the kind of thing that you probably wouldn't mention on stream at all. We would never know that behind the curtain type thing in your life, and I just find that really interesting. And that's one of those questions that feels really off the wall when you first ask it, but it actually like opens up into something completely different when you get into it. And you know, Rita and I, having just gotten married 10 months ago, you know, we're not necessarily imminently, but we are also in a space where the next chapter for us, if we're fortunate enough, looks like children. And facing what life will be like for our kids being biracial. And then what does that mean for us as parents of biracial children, especially her, right? Like, it's not new to me. It'll be new for her. And like the feelings and emotions and how everything kind of works, it is really interesting and fascinating. And You know, 10 fingers, 10 toes. We just want them happy and healthy.
Happy and healthy.
But I also, I want them to be cute. Like, I want them to, you know, I don't want them to have a hard life in addition to being biracial. You know what I mean? Like, at least be cute. At least get good skin. Like, you know, can we, like, win a little bit of the genetics if we're already struggling with the society? Like, can we at least do that? So, in a quiet moment, that's really what I'm hoping for. Well, thank you. All right, your friends and family have found out that you are in jail, arrested. The authorities called, let them know. They can post your bail, but they're not, like, letting your family or your friends know what happened. What do you think they're most likely to think you did wrong?
They're probably most likely to assume that I was, like, smoking weed on the street or something, and somebody just, like, busted me.
Somebody just got you. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yeah, probably smoking weed. That's probably the most likely thing.
Yeah, in a public forum, like. Yeah.
Like in a restaurant, like, yo, what's up?
leave me alone.
They're gonna be like, it's not New York. It's not legal here. You can't do that. I'm like,
oh, that's hilarious. That's a good one. That is a good one. And it'll be interesting to see, like, you know, you were just talking about how all of a sudden there's generations that are biracial. Here pretty soon, there'll be a bunch of people who can, you know, recreationally do that everywhere.
Smoke weed, yes. It's so crazy.
What a time. What a time.
What a freaking time to be alive, yo.
Yeah, and you know, you let my mom tell it. She's trying to be the cannabis queen. She's trying to ride the wave in Central Ohio and be at the first distillery. She's like doing all the research. She's something else.
My mom said something to me about that the other day. She was like, somebody approached me and asked me if I wanted to be the financial whatever of their cannabis company, and I was like, imagine that. Can you give me some free freaking cannabis while you're at it? Jeez.
Right. She's something else. We'll have to see. The only reason I slowed her down, I was like, look, only child. Rita's an only child. I can't have you out here in jail for trying to push the cannabis. I need like, I'm probably gonna need like childcare. Like, you're the only grandparent local, right? My dad's work. We need you. You better chill. You better chill, because we got jobs, okay?
Bro, that's what I was saying. I was telling Will that the other day. I was like, yo, if we can marry and have kids, we're going to have to figure something out, because they're going to have to babysit.
She's something else. She is something else. Would you describe yourself as a good loser when playing cards or board games?
Now.
No. Now or no?
Now. I'm better at losing now. But I also come from a Caribbean family, and we played like dominoes and gin and stuff. And so
competitive.
Competitive
board games are completely different than family night.
Basically, nobody like comes over and is like, "Hey, you guys want to play cards?" And we're like, "Do you want to lose $50 today?" Like,
right.
We can play cards if you want, but you're not gonna leave happy.
That is hilarious. I always felt
I tried.
I always felt like I was in like an unfair space as an only child. Like, the one regret that I've always had as an only child is that my family's actually really big into card games and table games, and we always had 3 people. Like, unless I had like a girlfriend who was down, the 3 of us, you can't play most of the fun card games with just 3.
Yeah.
We're a big
trying to play cards against humanity with 3 people.
Yeah, like, we're a big euchre family. Like, we loved euchre. My dad grew up playing spades. He met my white mom. Now they play euchre. Right? And I remember when my aunts and uncles would get together for the holidays, it would be like the 2 married couples, and the 4 of them would play like these heated games of euchre until like late at night. And, you know, as I got older, like, I got good and I started practicing, and we had to stop playing, because back in the day, like, my high school and early college girlfriends, they weren't ready for the smoke like that. Like, they weren't ready to play at the level that we like to play around the house. And if I wanted my relationship to continue, even still today, like, Rita doesn't know that side of my dad. And I don't really want her to see it, because she'll think completely differently of him. He's so sweet and kind and like takes great care of her. They like side text each other throughout the week, not in the family group chat. But man, you mess around and like bring him around some cards, and me and him against each other especially, it's not pretty.
Oh my gosh. I'm feeling so seen right now. Like, I have in my life always dated like white men. My dad is white, so I think that's probably why I just naturally gravitated towards them. And
I've always dated white women. My mom's white.
There you go.
It's very weird.
And my boyfriend now and he's been my best friend for, I think we're going on 13 years.
Jeez, wow.
I think. We met in like the 7th grade.
My man's played the nice guy slow game. Kudos, brother. You were in it for the long haul, my man. 13, golly.
Look, we dated when we were in high school once. Okay.
All right, so he wasn't like dry spelled the whole time.
Yeah.
Shout out.
He's a patient man for sure. I mean,
I love it.
Think about me. Somebody would have to be relatively fucking patient to deal with all of this, okay? So, and I mean, it's not like he didn't know what he was getting into, okay?
Sure.
He knew. He'd been
That's a big sample size.
He'd been done new. So, but I brought him around my family for New Year's Eve and Christmas, which is like our big holiday. Especially New Year's Eve, we normally go to like a beach house and just spend the whole weekend with each other and just get fucking trash and hang out and play cards and just talk and stuff like that. And I have always, whenever I bring like white people around them, because my family's black outside of my father, you never really know how they're going to perceive people or how they're going to perceive, just the natural banter or, just anything. It could really be anything. And I feel like that's with any spouse, with any potential partner or current partner, regardless of their color. They could be blue for all I care.
Yep.
So this was the first time that I had brought somebody who is of, the majority race with me, and I didn't really know how it was gonna go, and we ended up playing Cards Against Humanity and like talking about dominoes and like rum punch and stuff, and he was like kicking my ass and talking shit about me.
Oh,
and I was like, this is not why I brought you here. I brought you here to be on my team. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, wait, I'm just trying to, I'm just hanging, babe. I'm just doing it. I'm like, whatever. You over here talking shit about me.
You knew you were done when Will walks in and does like, the dap him up and the bring him in, like the thing that's like characteristically African American. Like when he came into the family like holiday, you knew it was over.
Yes, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Like you hit the cousin and the uncle with one of these.
With the big
it's over. It's over.
It's good, bro. Not bad. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna go open 3 more bottles of champagne. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like,
that is so funny.
Drama.
I love it. Yeah, Will's invited to the cookout. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think when it comes to card games, yes, I try to be a good loser. If we're talking about video games,
not so much.
Abso-fucking-lutely not.
Not so much.
I'm a bit of I have a tendency to rage.
Yeah.
Potentially.
You know what's so funny? I really don't show that side very much on stream. I may get a little toxic here or there. You may catch me like emote on somebody after a nice play, but I don't really rage a lot. But in real life, like in all of the sports I played growing, like to this day, like this summer, I almost got into a fight in a men's slow pitch softball league, talking trash on the field, because I have that in me. Like everybody catches me like I'm this like calm, cool, collected, nice guy, like cool demeanor. I legitimately I'm on second base after hitting a double, and the center fielder was talking shit last at bat, and I'm standing there clapping. Right, like that is me all the time. And Rita doesn't, she just got home. She hates that side, like, especially being very passive and like chill. She really doesn't get down with that version of me. But like I tell her all the time, like us starting to date when I was 28 and like real grown is a lot different than like, had you caught me at 22, 23, we would not be together, babe. It just wouldn't have worked. Because I was a different person and I didn't have control over that version. Yes, like I do now.
And I think that's like what Will and I also kind of came to the realization was, is like we kind of, it was never like our complete cutoff, because he's literally my best friend.
Yeah.
So I talk to him, but we've always kind of had a very secure relationship where like I don't need to talk to him every day. I don't even need to talk to him like every 6 months. But if I call him, he's like, "What's up?" Like he's answering the phone because I don't call very often. So if I'm calling,
it's something
must be up. So it's just like had he and I tried to get together like even 6 or 7 months prior, we were both kind of poorly recovering from shitty relationships and just like not handling the situation very well, you know, and just kind of being very destructive as you do.
Yeah.
When you get out of I mean, and they were like both of them were kind of like long-term relationships that we ended, and so I think that's kind of why it just like it kind of imploded and we just weren't handling it well. So I think, like I said, had we even met earlier, it probably wouldn't have been the same. And I think we dated in high school and it just like, it was kind of like, you're my best friend and this is weird, so can we not?
Yeah.
And we were both like, okay, like, and we just decided to end it, but it never got weird and it was never awkward, and I'm very thankful to have him because of that, and God bless him for being so patient because I know I can be a handful.
I love it. No, you know what?
But somebody's got to be chill. Somebody's got to be the chill one. It's very, our relationship is very yin and yang.
They do. And Rita and I changed those roles. Like, she's a very laid back person. You wouldn't really get it if you talk to her. She's the introvert of the two, but she does ramp it up, and she has another gear that she goes to, and I also have another gear that I come down to. So it's a nice balance, and you have to.
You have to have it.
But
somebody's got to be. Somebody's got to be able.
We
to
really couldn't have done it at a different time because I was not a fair fighter in those relationships. My mom has always said I should have been a lawyer because I'm very quick, I'm very witty. And I'm also very savage, and like I will go to the jugular in an argument really quickly, and I got to be careful with that.
That about me?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like you got to be really careful with like the talents, and like having the ability to pull them out when you need them and put them away when you don't is like a really acquired taste that you have to develop over time. It is.
It's a skill. It's hard to do because sometimes you'd be like, you come out like, for example, I mean, this is a perfect example of something that happened recently. We went out for Halloween, me and Will, and we were kind of like standing, like walking past all these restaurants trying to find somewhere to get a drink before we kept moving on. And I like peeked into this restaurant to see what was going on, to see where the hostess stand was because it wasn't outside. And this girl was like, "Hi," and I was like, "Hi, bitch. I see you. I'm looking." And Will was like, whoa.
I love it.
And I was like, "Ho over here trying to fucking caught me. I will punch her in the face." And he was like, no, let's not. Like,
chill.
That TikTok of that, like, I'm the chill boyfriend. This is my crazy ass girlfriend coming through the left with the bat with the nails on it.
Man.
What about it?
Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny. Yeah, and it's interesting because like this time in my life has been one of a lot of happiness, right? Like, since I started streaming, then COVID, and then we got married. Like when I started streaming, I was already engaged, so I was already at a space where I was very settled and happy. But yeah, a previous version of me should not have been on camera with a microphone for long extended periods of time. Just
God no.
Like that presence online would follow me forever. So
ever.
Have you ever been told you look like somebody famous?
Yeah, Meghan Markle.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Especially the dark hair.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. I was working at a restaurant when she was getting married, and like almost every table that I had was like, "Oh my God, are you excited to get married?"
You should have went with it.
And I was like, honestly,
like, yo, yeah.
I'm so excited.
Although the family I'm marrying into sucks, so.
I mean, look, don't even get me started on that.
They do her dirty.
I personally really like the royal family, but I think I'm very surprised at Meghan because if I was walking into that, I would have known what the fuck I was walking into. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Oh, and I feel bad because I really think she didn't. I really think she did not.
Yeah.
And it's hard to understand.
It is. It's hard to understand. Like, it kind of feels a little bit like you said, I don't really get how you didn't know.
How did you not know, boo?
How did you not know? We knew.
How did you not know? We knew.
Like, everyone was in on the joke but you.
But you!
And now look where y'all are at. Now, I appreciate the way she's come out and, you know, had a voice, and shout out to him. he stood up for his girl. Shout out.
Word.
But
shout out. Heard it.
she needs to know.
Girl.
Yeah. Yep. I often get, especially back in the day when I had really short hair, I was tan and I was thinner. I used to get Obama a lot. Like all the time.
Oh my God. That's
like
awesome.
all the time.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Present day, I get a lot of Logic, typically because of the glasses and the gamer headset. A lot of people come out with the Logic. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
It was actually, I have a whole ass story about it, which is kind of funny. I'll make it super quick. I officiate basketball. There's a guy locally here who covers high school sports for like a publication, and he was filming a game, and it was like a last second shot, like a last possession, and he posted the video of this kid hitting this shot on Twitter. And before the ball got inbounded and the play happened that like went viral, he on camera during the timeout, like before the play started, had me in frame on his smartphone and said Logic is out here reffing this game. Like, cracked a joke on me, like when I'm in my stripes doing my fucking thing. And like this video goes viral because this kid hits this awesome shot, and whatever. But what's so funny is, like, probably 2 months later during the same season, I'm working a different game, different part of the city, and he and I at the time had not been introduced. And because he's media, like I try to be personable to everybody. I'm in professional mode, right? I'm supposed to like convey a level of gravitas and control over the environment out there on the court. But pregame, before we start the game, while the teams are warming up, he's behind me and he's talking to a colleague, and I turn around and I go, Logic's in the building, and I dap him up, and he like goes ghost white. Like, he was like, oh my God, this dude heard me on my video talking shit, right? Like, and ever since, like, he and I have had a great relationship, and it was a funny moment. But I've gotten Logic like quite a bit.
You've been heard and seen, bro.
Oh, it was something else. It was something else. Shout out J Ruck, love KJ, Nip, everybody who's hanging out. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being here. You guys are cracking me up. Chat has been hilarious. All the jokes.
You guys are killing me right now.
So we touched on pot roast a little earlier, but what's your favorite meal to cook and eat, and why?
Okay, my favorite meal to cook is definitely I make pasta with garlic and pepper flakes. A little garlic and pepper flakes.
Okay.
But I use 8-layer pasta, cut up a little bit of garlic, put the garlic and the pepper flakes, let it simmer in olive oil, toss that pasta in, mix it up.
Yes.
That's my favorite thing. Add a little Parmesan, a little parsley on the top. Shit's fucking fire.
Okay.
But my favorite thing to eat is if I don't have to make it, my favorite thing to eat is actually lox and cream cheese sandwiches.
Oh, wait a minute. I've heard that before. Lox. Is that a bagel?
It's smoked salmon.
Yes.
I think it's like a Jewish, like.
Yes.
Because lox and cream cheese is like a Jewish thing.
Yes.
And it's like the way that I make it and we make it in my family is everything bagels, toasted, light schmear of everything, of cream cheese. Then you put a little tomato, little capers, some onion, salmon on top, salt and pepper. Smack that other end of the bagel on it, cut that shit in half.
Look at you go. I love it. That's hilarious.
Have a good time.
Oh, it's so funny. I feel like you should probably, like, do you do any content creation with food? Now, I'm not suggesting like a full kitchen stream, but I definitely feel like commentating a meal for a reel or a TikTok, it really seems like a really good thing.
I would want to do it when my mom cooks, because my mom and dad have like all the skill and expertise to like cut things very beautifully.
Okay.
Like,
yes.
They could do it and make it look all pretty.
Yes.
And I can just be like, oh yes, and now what edit.
Look,
I'm just gonna add goofy voices.
As a friend, I challenge you this holiday season to generate some content in the kitchen with the family, because I really feel not only is it funny and gonna be interesting, everybody loves food, and everyone relates to the crazy antics in the kitchen with their family.
I love it.
Very universal.
Kimbro has posted it into put it into.
I put it into the universe. I have.
I'm going Christmas 2022. Keep an eye on my TikTok chat.
I love it. KJ talks about how you guys co-stream all the time, and you guys are each other's half of your brains. I love it.
Yes, K-Butter. K-Butter for the win.
We do love both of you. Both 21 questions guests. I think this is the first, like, I would call you guys like a true like pair, like a duo. This is like
we are quite the duo.
This is my first time like finishing out the partners, the duo.
You did it! Yeah.
In 21 questions. This is a big moment. And I'm also saying to J Ruck and Love, you guys all need to link up with each other.
Yes.
Not only from the standpoint of like your senses of humor all match. I'm a strong advocate of creators of color knowing each other, right? KJ, we're giving you the, you're invited to the cookout, right?
Yes, so, please come hang out with us.
But in general, yes, the rest of us, creators of color, all need to be connected. I'm a big fan. So
me too.
What is the first thing that you notice about a stranger?
This is gonna sound really, really weird, but the first thing that I notice is actually their clothes.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna sound very shallow, but I like clothes. And I live in New York. Normally people have.
I was gonna say nice clothes. Well, yeah, I was gonna say you probably have like the widest spectrum of fashion in New York.
I mean, I literally the other day I was on the subway yesterday and I saw somebody wearing these Balenciaga slip-on sock sneaker things, and I sent a picture to my boyfriend because he's a huge sneakerhead, and I was like, how do I get these? Where do I get them? Tell me where do I get them? And he was like, well, they're like $800 shoes. And I was like, where do I get them? Didn't answer my question.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. I honestly, I feel like Rita might say the same thing. I'm gonna ask her afterwards because I don't think I've ever asked her that. She probably notices people's wardrobe too. She really does.
I like clothes. I'm very big also into the concept that first impressions are everything, and clothes are a perfect way to change your mood, just like changing your hairstyle or your outfit or taking a nap. I think changing your outfit is a perfect way to change your mood. So I'm a full believer in that, and I'm quite the fashionista. So that is probably more so just because I'm quite a fashion fanatic, and less based on the like, what are you wearing? Are you wearing the hottest? Like, I don't give a shit about any of that.
No.
But because I wear shit that my dad has bequeathed me from his days in the Navy in like the 80s and 90s.
Sure.
So I don't care about any of that.
I do. I was gonna say I do love like someone who has their own uniquely carved out fashion identity. I don't necessarily care how much it costs or what it was, but that you make styles and certain looks your own is something that I find really interesting and appreciate.
Presentation is everything.
Yeah, that's good. That is good stuff. This one's a little interesting. This has probably changed, maybe too, especially since you've moved to New York. What's your favorite smell? Because I gotta imagine New York smells a lot differently than where you just were.
It does. It's different. It is different, faux show.
Yeah.
My favorite smell is what is this? Hold on. I'm actually.
You have it. We have it here. I'm very curious.
Okay, not that.
What could it be?
Okay. So this candle is it's from DW Home. Quick. Okay. No, they're not sponsoring me. I don't know anything about them.
Hashtag ad.
Hashtag ad. But it's cypress and sage.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it. But
I like the packaging on the outside.
Yeah.
Cypress and sage.
I'm over here really fucking up this. I'm not a YouTuber or a blogger, guys. I don't know how they do this shit.
I was gonna say they got skills.
They'd be like,
yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, the camera.
Yeah.
But yes, so I really love the smell of cypress trees.
Okay.
As well as the smell of sage. I think it just like all the way around smells really, really good.
It's a perfect combo.
I also love lavender, and normally cypress, sage, and lavender are all kind of in the same
they usually go together.
Yes, I'm a big into floral smells.
Okay.
Florals.
I'm down with that.
I also like things that taste very like floral and effervescent. So like I'm big into gin, and like if I go to a bar or something and they have like a lavender gin, rosemary,
something.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever that shit is. I'm like, yeah, I want that one. That's the one I want. It's weird and effervescent, and it probably tastes funny.
Yeah.
I like it.
I can appreciate the fact that you are interested in like making the smell part of your sensory experience prominent, right? A lot of people like only worry about the taste or really care about the presentation, but people I feel like smells typically like forgotten about.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever tried to drink or eat something that smelled bad or had like a weird smell to it? You cannot do it. Like I had a seltzer the other day that had like a weird, it was like a strawberry lemonade seltzer and it just had like a weird smell to it, and then it also had like an aftertaste that sat like it was like chemical and it sat like right here in my it's things are, and I think it's something that I have the fortune of getting from I lived in Sicily for 6 years, and they're kind of like ear, taste, smell, see, like trying to especially when they eat food, they're kind of tapping into every opportunity, like whatever there is to have some kind of sensory reaction. If we can throw it in there, let's do it. So I'm very sensitive, especially to taste, but smell as well. So if it tastes good but it doesn't smell right, I can't get over it. Like I can't, like, you have to take it away. So
I love that. That's funny.
Can't handle it.
KJ says, does anyone else sniff everything before trying it?
Yes, I'm over here literally like.
I was gonna say my
nose in things.
I don't think I do. I'm gonna have to take inventory of how often I do it. I feel like I do it at like a normal amount. My aunt does. Like it's almost like an OCD tick. Like she sniffs everything. She definitely is like just like always food, non-food, like. If she gets her hands on it, she really like takes that part of it in. Shout out Aunt Marty.
Love it.
Yeah, she's something else. What's your favorite form of self-care?
Playing video games.
Oh, I love that. I love that answer. The Sims.
A lot.
Vibe out to The Sims. Okay.
I love it, and I know it's something that I've started doing on my stream a little more often, and that I
was gonna say I don't think I've ever seen you stream The Sims. Only it's like Apex and like competitive shooters.
I know. I just started doing it like maybe like a month ago, and it was kind of I noticed myself feeling very burnt out because I'm very high energy, and I try to abide by that for long periods of time, and it was just kind of wearing on me, and I was like, I want to stream, like I want to hang out with my community, but I just like I'm
not in the mood for this thing.
I don't want to be on camera, and I don't want to talk a lot. Like I just want to chill and listen to like Nintendo lo-fi music and play The Sims. I was like, there's literally no reason I can't just do that. Like everybody will probably be really weirded out at first, but if I just keep doing it, like they'll be fine. So, and I think that's like something as like pro tip for people who are new streamers. Do not anticipate, like if you change your normal programming instantly to something that's completely new and that you don't normally do, and you're concerned because you did it and now nobody's showing up, it's just because it's different, you know what I mean? I started my streaming career playing lots and lots of ESO, and I then switched up that and started playing Apex with KJ, and I saw my numbers drop almost instantly. Because it was just, I had grown this following who was here to watch me play ESO, and that's what they were here to watch me do. And I wasn't doing it. So I changed something up, and I eventually, over time, kind of was able to grow a following who is starting to become more interested regardless of what I'm doing, but I could never expect that from people off the cuff. Because, I mean, I'm guilty of it. When I go to look for somebody, I am normally looking based on a game. I'm not really looking for any particular streamer. I'm looking for, maybe females who play Apex, or, black women who are playing Sims right now, or,
whatever it may be.
People who are playing ESO in general on Xbox or something. But I don't necessarily stick around long enough to get to know them outside of that. So you just have to, it's a patience thing, and it can be really difficult and really brandishing and damaging to your self-esteem, but don't let it. It's okay.
No, and honestly too, I think sometimes it can be more harmful to continually conflict with what you're in the mood for versus what your community expects you to do and what they want to see you play consistently. And if you've built your community the right way, not only are they gonna support you however you need to be supported, they're gonna be understanding and they're gonna appreciate that, right? Like that's the beauty of it. And typically, if the relationships you build as a content creator only exist if the mode being delivered is through a particular game, it's probably not the community you want to have anyway. You want them to rock with you regardless, and because you are doing things that you care about, not necessarily this shared experience of we have to be on Apex or we have to be on Fortnite, otherwise I'm not here.
Exactly. So, and it could be hard to do that over time. You kind of just have to. It takes time. And everybody grows at different rates. I mean, I have seen people who I followed after, like 6 months after I started streaming, who are, you know, pulling in 60, 70, 80, 100 viewers on their stream, streaming the same game that I am.
Sure.
But it's just, you know what I mean? And this was something that I really struggled to come to terms with as a streamer, so that's the only reason I'm saying it out loud, because I know the struggle is real.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're putting out something that I feel like a lot of people feel, though. It's very true for a lot of people. That's the hard part about it. Like, realistically, at some point for me, I took a step back and I thought, what's the most important thing for me to win this short-term race for viewers and community, or to be really passionate and enjoy and not feel burned out of creating content? Because ultimately, like, I want to be able to do this for a very long time. And if I'm too much on the roller coaster of emotions in the near future, I run the risk of really being burned out and step away from it. And to be honest, I know you're coming up on it. I just hit 2 years at the beginning of this month. And
congratulations.
Thank you. As I scroll down the list of all-time top gifters, I would say 60% of that list doesn't even get on Twitch anymore. Like they like, people, especially after COVID, it's just transitioned. Like, their life has changed, their interests have changed, their availability has changed. And so, you know, that's also a big piece of it. Like, figuring out a way to make sure you stay sort of connected, knowing that people are going to come and go, which is very weird too.
Yeah, it's weird. And like, KJ and I had talked about this so much that, you know, we were both on a pretty steady incline and kind of just doing the thing and feeling like we were really making strides, and then it just kind of stopped for like 6 months. And we were all just, and it was a Twitch wide thing. It was just not her and I, it was everybody that we knew, all of the big streamers that we watched. It was happening on YouTube. Like, we were like, I just think everybody's like digitally burnt the hell out. And like, how can we blame you? We're burnt, like, we're tired too, you know, and we're just trucking through, because I think once you get to a certain point, you kind of find a certain solace and comfort in streaming, and it's kind of like, you know, going over to your friend's house to hang out with somebody that is, you know, I'm gonna be playing video games anyway, and now I don't have to do it alone. I can do it with my friends, and that's kind of where KJ and Sona and I kind of built our relationship around Apex, because we kind of just all fell in love with it at the same time, and we're all feeling the same level of dedication to it and wanting to play it and just being totally obsessed with it and just loving it. And that we were able to pull upon each other and kind of tap into that to continue to find that fire and find that passion to keep going, instead of just being like, well, nobody's showing up to my stream and now I'm sad, boo.
Right.
Like, you could do that, but I mean, it ebbs and flows, just like anything.
Well, and what's interesting, what I've found to be helpful for me, because everybody kind of goes through those same kind of emotions and you know, cycles with their content. I started to really lean into challenging myself, right? Because it's really, really easy in human nature to social comparison theory, right? How is my content performing relative to that person who started after me, or relative to that person in the same graduating class as me? We all started at the same time. Rather than worrying so much about what they're up to, I've found a lot of success for myself leaning into the things that, like, challenge me mentally, emotionally, professionally, right? Like, figuring out a new skill in this whole thing, right? Finding out, like for a good example would be like, for you during this holiday season, doing this different TikTok in the kitchen thing, right? Like, rather than spending a lot of time worrying about other people's stuff, how am I going to get better individually, right? And mine has been leaning into YouTube and figuring out how to make the most unique and creative YouTube thumbnails. Like, I'm really big into making YouTube thumbnails right now.
I love that.
Like, and figuring out how to make them look really good and inviting and Like that's something that I haven't had to worry about in 2 years. Or my merch, right? Like coming up with really interesting, unique designs for a merch store. Like that's the kind of thing that I can really compare and go, how was I doing 2 months ago or 3 months ago? Am I doing better? Am I learning? Am I growing? Rather than the numbers that are controlled by other people, I'm like kind of always in competition with myself in terms of like the skills and talents and abilities that I'm trying to work on. So that's really what I've been trying to focus on, and it's actually been really refreshing, right? Like it's created a sense, like you said, there's a lot of digital burnout right now. People's lives are changing. People aren't stuck in the house anymore most weeknights if they don't have to be. So if I can't lean on other people to sort of give me that feedback or that sort of interaction, I really need to just challenge myself creatively as much as I can with either a new way to make the content or a new type of content or a new creative skill, and that's really been it. That's really been it. Shout out Ginger. Appreciate the 5 gifted. Are you kidding me?
Yes, Ginger!
The Gingers, I will say. Ginger Slayer and Gingerbread Beauty. Incredible people. Shout out Canada. I swear, Canada's got some nice ass folks. The Canadians, they are kind as hell, man.
They are.
They really
They're so
are.
nice.
Shout out you, Ginge. Ginger, I don't know if Slayer was with her, but Ginger, his wife was actually in New York like last month. Her first time. She loved it. So shout out her too. We stand the Gingers. Yeah. So anyway, that's just like that's a whole soapbox thing. But I think, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, from me to you to KJ to Love, Jay Ruck, who's starting his content creation journey, trying to lean into more stuff that challenges yourself creatively. I think that's actually a really good thing to sort of help us all make it through these turbulent times on Twitch, where we've got way more creators than ever before, fewer viewers than the last 2 years, and how it all works out. You know, continue to like lean into people, right? Like make connections and then push yourself creatively. That's all I'm really worried about.
That's all we got at this point. And like my way of pushing myself is trying to be more active on Instagram, because I like maybe like 2 months ago I was like, do I even need this? Like who's really here? Like, does anybody even really care? Right. And then I kind of like took a step back and was like, well, let's be honest, I'm not really putting any content there. Right. I'm very barely posting. I'm not like using it for what it could be, which my original intention was kind of always to have my Instagram stories be constantly active and populated with more vlog style content, because I think that editing is the bane of my existence. And I don't want to have to edit anything, which is a big part of the reason why I'm not a YouTuber and I'm a streamer, because I was like, and I'm not a podcaster. Because I was like, I'm not going to edit a pod. If I have to edit a podcast or a YouTube video, I will record it and it will never go up. Yeah. So let me just stream, that way I have no choice. You know what I mean?
You know, and it's so funny because I think, you know, like I said, for me, it's been really interesting to lean into these different types and learn these new skills. Like, you know, editing on YouTube or making thumbnails, like that stuff is like legitimately challenging, and it may hurt my Twitch like activity, but it also creates a little bit more longevity for myself and creates a little bit more like, you know, interest in the sport for a longer period of time. You know what I mean?
Totally. I think it's just like making a TikTok and being super, super active on TikTok. Like at this juncture, I don't think TikTok is in any position to compete with YouTube and like with the content and the connections that you can make from that. But it's like branching out into TikTok. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're kind of creating this additional content that people who may not be on Twitch can access, and then you're bringing that over to where you want them to be, which is here in the stream. So, and I want to branch out into YouTube as well. Like I want to make, but if I made YouTube videos, my brain is like, I would make totally like not gaming content,
different stuff.
It would just be like me. I would sit down and like rant about something for an hour. That's what I would do.
But you know what?
About something. But that is what I think is interesting. I think that's something that I don't get to do as often when I'm streaming, because I'm trying to play video games.
Sure.
So something that I would love to do more, and God knows I can talk. So
I would love to see you do that too. Well, and you know, partially this whole 21 questions concept a year and a half ago started out of a very similar feeling. Some days I get home from work and I just want to talk to somebody. I don't want to be on Fortnite and have 4 people's game chat voices in my ear and explosions and gunshots, sometimes I want to hop on and have a conversation and, end up, or just being just chatting for like a full hour and a half, like all kinds of different ways. And I don't know. I'm a big advocate of the variety, not only for diversification, but for your own mental and emotional health. Because I think you brought up Elder Scrolls earlier. I have a friend who's a Twitch partner who was on Elder Scrolls and ascended to Twitch partner status off of that game and that following. And then he was getting burned out playing it and switched and wanted to play like survival games and racing games and competitive FPS shooters. And his numbers just like completely tanked.
Plummeted. Yeah.
And he was like really hurt by it for a long time. And then he just said, you know what? I'm happier. And that's really what I need to do and what I gotta keep doing. And I give him a ton of credit. And I've told it to him multiple times. It can't be easy to have a check mark and see your average views be a third of what you need to hit Twitch partner status. Mm-hmm. But he's happy and he's healthier, and I'm just like cheering for that more than anything else.
Oh, me too. Me too.
Yeah. Oh, I feel it. Shout out Miss Kimbroplays in the chat, by the way.
Rita.
We love Rita. She just got back from I'm not gonna put her on blast from the appointment she had, but let's just say if we were going to the beach, she'd be ready for the beach. We're not going to the beach, but she is ready.
But she's ready.
In case we needed to pack and go. And then she brought herself home some food. She's up there slamming and watching us. So shout out you, wifey.
Nom nom noms.
On a Friday night. Good for shout out the spouses and significant others who let their partners hang out on Twitch till 8:30 or beyond on a Friday night. Y'all are the real MVPs.
The realest. Thanks, guys.
Love y'all. Okay, Mocha, your high school locker. I'm taking you in the Wayback Machine.
Okay.
Let's go senior year. Well, let's go whenever you were like maybe having the best locker, right? Okay. I want to know what's in it. Like what's plastered on the inside, what's hanging, what's like stuffed in the bottom that nobody cares about anymore. Like walk us through what you got.
Okay, so on the door, on the inside of the door, we've got probably like 3 pictures of Taylor Lautner.
Okay.
We've got probably a couple of Black Veil Brides posters because that was like my angsty period, and maybe like some random musical theater things, like little snippets and shit. Because I was going to I went to see Rent. Which is my favorite Broadway show. I went to see Rent with my mom off Broadway when I was in high school, and I'm pretty sure I have the playbook around here somewhere, but I took like a snippet out of it, like that had the Rent logo on it, and I was keeping that in my locker at the time. I also had probably like 4 jackets of different weights because I get cold, and it was always freezing in my high school, and like every room had a different temperature, and it was ridiculous. Probably tap shoes, because when I was in high school I did 4 musicals that had tap numbers in them. Oh my gosh. Probably my violin, but I had a separate locker for that, but if I couldn't use that locker, I was keeping it in my locker. Yep. And then probably like some crumpled up math homework, paper slips I never got signed, report cards, shit that you want to forget about. Yeah. That shit was stuffed in the way bottom. Yeah. As deep as it could go. Into the abyss. I always laugh. Especially for me, I didn't have like this transcendent locker high school experience, but I know that some people did. My 8th grade locker. Yeah. Well, but like Rita did too. It's just so funny. Like I like that question because it gives me insight to a world that I didn't really get to know about. And like I had friends who were girls in school, but I wasn't very serious about lockers. Okay, as girls, and like whoever had the mirror in their locker, there was always like only one of us who had a mirror. We were all like
fighting for it. Like
there isn't a fucking bathroom down the hall that we could just go into.
I'm only friends with you because you've got the mirror in your locker.
You got the mirror in your locker, bitch.
Let's just keep it 100. Yeah, no, I love it. I've always thought that was really funny to sort of understand like the psychology and why people do what they do with their locker.
So weird.
That's a good locker though. Good work for you. Good work.
It was like a safe space. It needed to be pretty.
It always does. It always needs to feel at home in the craziness of being in school with the raging hormones and the wild politics of it all.
God.
Having
So
a safe space, a home away from home, if you will, in your locker, very key.
Very important.
Mine was always the car. Mine ended up being like being able to leave and go to my car and or go to lunch, off campus or something. Like that was like really where I started to feel like that, for sure.
100%. Definitely me in college.
Yeah. Rita says, my best friend and I moved into one locker together because our lockers were so far apart and we wanted to talk between class.
Hello! I did that in middle school!
I told you, y'all are something else. Y'all are something else.
Girls travel in packs. What do you want?
Craziness.
Like,
absolute craziness. Okay, Mokes,
those are weird.
what is one thing that's still on your bucket list that you want to knock out? I know it's early, right? Like, knock on wood, we've got good health. You're early on the bucket list, but what's something really notable on it?
I really want to, happenstance run into Lady Gaga. Like, I don't want to, go somewhere where she is and I need to meet her. I want to be, at a coffee shop somewhere in Midtown, New York City, and she's just, minding her fucking business, trying to get a coffee, and I, bump into her, and she's like, hey! And I'm like, that's me.
Yeah.
That's my whole life. I spill coffee on her Chanel, white Chanel coat. It's horrible. And then yeah, it's great.
And then you guys are friends because you
friends
really
forever.
are nice.
Yes.
And you give her the coat off your back to make sure she's good.
Yes.
Oh
and then I don't tell my best friend that I met Lady Gaga because her and I have a shared love of Lady Gaga.
Okay.
And I'm just hey, can you come to New York real quick? And Gaga's just standing there and then she faints. I have a whole fantasy.
Oh my God.
Out.
You crack me up.
The other one is to go back to Paris because I went when I was maybe 7.
Okay.
So I would love to go back to Paris and go all the way to the top of the Empire, or the Empire State Building, the Eiffel Tower.
Okay, back to Paris. I get a sense that you've been quite the world traveler.
I have been very fortunate to where I've been to a lot of places that most adults 3 times my age haven't been to. I've been to Spain, I've been to Gibraltar, I've been to Paris, I've been to Germany.
I mean, you dropped Sicily earlier.
I lived there for 6
New
years.
York.
I've been to Italy. I live in New York now.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive. That's quite the list, so early, like you said.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate. I loved it. I love traveling, and Europe is such an incredible place. I hope everybody should experience Europe because it's so old, especially Americans.
Yeah.
It's so old. It's so
You know what? It's so funny you said that. So Rita's from Cleveland, and
cool.
Relative to Columbus, where we live now, Cleveland is significantly older. It was way more industrial. It's got a lot more history, and where we're getting married, our wedding 2.0 is coming up in 2 months, where we're doing basically the reception. Yeah. The venue that we're doing it at is kind of a really historic venue in Cleveland. It's really gorgeous. And I remember just the last time we were up here, and I don't even think I told Rita the story. I was standing outside while they were grabbing coffee. We had just done the walkthrough and we were getting ready to go home. And I'm standing on the sidewalk waiting for the valet to pull up our car. And I'm just looking in downtown Cleveland at some of these buildings. I was across the street from the library. And that building had to be 250 years old. I was it was a really big shake for me to be in the presence of structures that were just so much older, especially living in Columbus, because we don't really have a lot of those. One of the oldest structures is Ohio State's football stadium, which is built in 1921, which is old, but some of the things that we're talking about, and like you said, in Europe, damn near the pyramids in Egypt old. This shit is old.
I know, this shit is old. I've seen the Trevi Fountain and I've been inside the Colosseum.
Crazy.
And that is such a weird experience. Or just even to go to the Louvre and look at paintings that are, or go to any museum. Go to a museum in DC. That shit's free. Go
just
to a museum
old
in DC.
stuff.
And just like look at old stuff, or like the Capitol buildings, or any of our, you know, major landmarks. You know, the Washington Monument. That shit is old. It's just so weird to think that it's been standing for so long, and all the things that it has lived through and survived. Like,
all the souls crazy. That have walked through it. Like, it is. It's very, very interesting. And I'm not really big into like the supernatural. Rita like loves that shit. Like, I'm a little afraid of it, and that's kind of why I get away from it.
I don't do ghosts.
I'm not
but like spooky creatures, like werewolves and vampires and witches and stuff, I'm into.
Sure.
But no ghosts.
No ghosts. And like, I think like for me, part of it is like, well, I know first and foremost, it came, you know, we gave credit to John early, right? We praised John for the movie theater thing. One of his biggest mistakes of my entire life is him falling asleep on the couch the night that Michael Jackson Thriller premiered on MTV. My mom wasn't home, and I watched that 20-minute, like his full feature film version of Thriller. Fucked me up the rest of my life. Like, legit. I am like, doom. I'd be like, oh shit! No! I'm not fucking with you, dude.
No!
He'd be out here like, no, So that set me down a path of being anti pretty much everything in that realm. Ghosts, goblins, cemeteries. I don't really. And some of these buildings. Yeah, no. Some of these old buildings like take me there a bit. Like mentally, like there's a lot of bodies that have been in this building, and this land has been here a lot longer than me. Like that stuff kind of throws me off a little bit.
It is, yeah, for sure. I think I've had a similar experience when I actually went to the Holocaust Museum.
Ooh,
and
yes.
That was just kind of like, it was the most like uncomfortable.
Yes. Were you in like the train cars?
Yes. And like to see all their shoes, they have this exhibit where they have all of these like shoes just stacked up. Yeah. And it seems so mundane to be like their shoes, but people wore them, and those people were being tortured brutally for no reason.
Yeah.
And, you know, people weren't believing that they were in danger. There were people who thought that it was a hoax. There were people who didn't know that they were in danger. And then there were people who were facilitating the danger. And it's like,
it's
you
wild.
know, I'm German. My dad is German. His mother is a first generation immigrant. Wow. And we're from that area where, you know, and our family was involved, like was, you know, part of Hitler's whole army and one of his generals and stuff. So I like,
what a complicated like family tree. It's like so two edges of like, you know, where your white side came from, where your black side came from.
And it's like,
that's pretty wild.
In the middle here?
You know what? I meant to mention this earlier when we were talking about mixed race children, and I didn't want to get on a whole tangent about it, but one of the things that Rita and I talked about that I sort of have internalized a bit to try to get me through a lot of the social injustice stuff going on. You're right. There are more mixed race kids and families like than ever before. And like my hope for all of this is that in time there will be no whites or blacks. Everyone will just be mixed race at some point. And that's like really what I'm banking on.
Me too. I'm surprised that everybody seems to think that you can just like qualify as like,
what you gonna do? Hate yourself?
Right. I don't know. And like race isn't even, I mean, I'm guilty of kind of using the word race because I just know that is what the general population will understand what I'm talking about versus me trying to
explain
say the word ethnicity because I feel like that just opens up a big can of worms and I'm not interested in having that conversation. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to have to explain it to you, but technically we're not really talking about race. We're talking about the issue of ethnicity because we're all the same race. Because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely not like a cat, a dog, or an animal of some kind. So we're really all for the human race, and we're having a disagreement over ethnicity, which is like, again, these are kind of long-term conversations that will take a while for the jargon to update as needed, and that's totally fine. But it's just like, you know, you internalize those things, and you don't even realize half the time that they're affecting you because you're so, like, after time 572, you're just kind of like, okay, like, do you have anything new to say today? Like, I'm not, it doesn't even faze you anymore. And it's both a good thing and a bad thing, especially now we're in this, like, weird awakening or Renaissance period, and people have all these questions, and it definitely raised so many things in me where I was like, whoa, I'm not even realizing that I'm not acknowledging this thing because I'm choosing not to acknowledge it because you're wrong, and that's just fine. Like, it doesn't matter, and me getting upset about it is only going to fuel the fire, so I'm just gonna like show you the hand and walk away. It's weird though. It's so interesting being mixed race now, since it's kind of like it's not a new thing, but it's a more commonly seen thing, and people don't really know how to behave about it. So it's
interesting. And KJ brought up a good point. Do you feel like you've been pressured to identify as one or the other? I don't know that I felt pressure. I don't know if that's the right word that I would use. I do think though that because people were so binary in their thinking when I was growing up, I always felt like I was defending my black side, especially being fair, right? Like if I had any sort of culture or any sort of language, people would look at me strange and be like, well, why would you're not with them? And I'd be like, oh, well, but actually,
but I am though.
Like here's dad. And so it was very weird for me to not fit into like certain categories that they expected, or certain tropes that they expected from like a way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you articulate, especially as I got older. I'm an only child boy from an inner city public school who goes on to like the largest university like in Ohio almost, and gets a master's degree, first generation college student. And so a bunch of people are like very conflicted because I'm articulate, but I'm also will quickly like rap all the lyrics to a hip hop song and drop the N-word colloquially. And like they couldn't box me in, so they like I always had to like describe it and explain it. So it wasn't necessarily pressure, but it certainly was a thing that we had to sort of go through.
Yeah. I didn't feel pressure so much. I actually honestly felt more discriminated against by Black people, because a lot of them, I guess because I went to a predominantly white school in a predominantly white area that was in the country, that a lot of them were like, I guess maybe they felt some type of way because I had a lot of white friends and I was doing a lot of quote unquote white things, like theater and playing the violin, and not like, I wasn't on the track team, I wasn't playing sports, I wasn't, and that's where most of them were, because a lot of them were incredible athletes. So it wasn't over there. I was playing the violin and
doing my thing
stuff and minding my business. And I think a lot of them probably felt that I was like trying to appropriate to fit in, and not less that these were just kind of like things that just so happened to fall into my lap and that I was just genuinely interested in. And so they kind of, I would always get like weird questions like, oh my God, I love your like tracks, it's so nice. And I'm like, it's not tracks.
Yeah.
It's my hair.
It's my hair.
And like, I know they weren't trying to be offensive, but they would be like, they'd be like, whatever, girl, like it's definitely tracks. And I'd be like, it's definitely not.
It's really not.
I can't tell you how many times I've had to be like, I mean, you're more than welcome to touch it. It's not. And instead of like touching my hair, they would go and like see if they could pull my like, you yank the tracks and shit coming at your head. So, and I would be like, yeah, thanks. It's
oh my God.
Still my hair, bitch. Like, calm down.
Oh, that's so funny.
So, I was more accepted by white people, but the both of them always were like, oh my God, you're so white, from both spectrums. And I'm like, is that the right word though?
Yeah.
Because I know what you're trying to say, and I know that that's just like what we're saying, but it's not really correct, because you're trying to say that because I'm eloquent and like well-spoken, you're categorizing me as white, but as Black people, you're kind of like, I don't think we should be saying that, because then we're kind of agreeing with them, which is not something that we should be doing, because
you're all over it. I mean, you're really like you're like pinpointing exactly sort of what an experience was for me. I don't think mine was quite as interesting as yours or controversial, because I think just in general, women have it harder, and you guys are put into boxes more often and challenged by a lot of those ways of thinking more than we are. Or maybe just people were afraid to say it to my face because I was quick to tell. I don't know, but like I didn't confront it as much as you probably did. But having neither side sort of see you as a part of their tribe for one reason or another, and being in your own lane is interesting. And you kind of already mentioned it with your mom's cousin, where like you look at her and kind of like feel something for this kindred spirit thing for their kids. There's definitely like hashtag mixed gang love for people in my you spent so much time not really feeling a part of a group like that when you come across someone else who also had this kind of unique shared experience, you kind of rock with them even if you don't know them because of that.
Because you're all like, we've had people be weird. Like
it's very strange.
Act weird about us. It's the most bizarre experience, and like people always get on black people or white people for being racist, and like there are plenty of racist white people, and I think it's like much more prominently well known that white people are racist. But what
I know exactly what you're gonna say
is how fucking racist black people are. Because boy, I cannot tell you how many black people in my family don't like white people. Like
1000%.
The gag is that their own racism kind of ended up biting them in the asses because their children went on to marry white people who now have biracial children. So they kind of are having to face this, issue head on, because I mean, my grandmother is not into it. She's not trying to hear it. She grew up in Texas, okay? Not trying to hear it. And when my mom married my dad, she was like, who is this white boy? You just bringing him up here like, And my mom was like, nope, I'm doing it, bye. And it just, it's such a multifaceted, complicated, deep-rooted issue that has so many other things going on, that when people are like frustrated that the issue of racism in America is not just like going away overnight, I'm like, you have no idea how deep-rooted.
You know what? It's I don't want to say the word funny. I don't know if that's the right word, but I would love to sit and hear from your parents, their experience relative, because my parents had the exact same experience. And I think I talked about this on the podcast we were on when it was, the panel we did with KJ.
Yes, I think so.
Like, long story short, a contingent on both sides of my parents' families, respectively, were anti them getting together. Now, I'm born in 1989. Like, that's not like 1950. Like, this is like
recently. My parents got married in 1982.
Yeah, this is like kind of recent that people were having these kinds of feelings. So much so that after my parents got married, my dad basically lost touch with his family, who still live in Columbus, and only like within the last 3 years are we starting to be close with them again, because a lot of the black aunts and uncles or significant others of my dad's siblings had a big issue with this white lady coming in and taking this high quality black man out of the market for the rest of the culture. Like, they were very territorial, and my mom didn't help. She's very brazen and outspoken, and she's loud, and we love her for that, but she wasn't necessarily the like perfect person, because she wasn't ready to give in to people who were not really vibing with her. She was like, you don't mess with me, I don't mess with you, and back away. So they had this drama over here, and to your point, there's a ton of, black people who have and hold sentiments as strong for different reasons, but as strong as some white people against the other. It really does go both ways. It's not a one-sided, I hate you and we love everybody. It is very contentious on either side. It's very interesting. And on the other side, my mom's side, literally within months of the wedding, my mom's mother and her siblings, so my mom's aunts and uncles and her mom, pulled together money and pitched it to my dad not to marry. Like, they literally tried to bribe my dad off not to marry. Like, there was like a whole transactional, if you don't marry her, you can have this. And it's wild because 30 plus years later, and in my experience, my entire upbringing, my grandmother on my mom's side and my dad have a wonderful relationship and love each other deeply.
Yes.
It's so wild. It's almost like they just needed to like get out of their own ways and get to know each other for a hot minute and be family with each other for a hot minute. And then they were able to work through everything they had problems with.
Totally. It's so weird. Yes. Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It is so bizarre. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. But I'm glad you've been able to travel. That's where we started this whole conversation. Was about you being able to travel, and I am very jealous. And if I ever make it to New York with Rita, we're gonna have to hit you up with some, not only come see you, but hit you up with a bunch of suggestions, because I would be lost in that big city, not knowing where to go, what to do first.
I got you.
Okay, I have 3 left for you.
Okay.
And then we're gonna let you get yourself going, because she's about to stream after this. And I don't want to take up too much more of her evening. What's the underrated app that you have on your phone that people need to be notified about?
Hold on, chat. Hold on. Let me look here.
And I promise, the theme of the night is you've been on it with whatever answer. I did not give these to you beforehand. You just are on it.
Batting them out of the cage here. Hold on. Let's see here, chat. Oh, Nudge. Okay. Nudge is both a texting service and an application.
Okay.
But look here, I can't see shit, KJ. You know I need fucking glasses. But Nudge. Okay, for anybody who lives near like a large metropolitan area or is planning on visiting a metropolitan area, the Nudge is for you. Okay, so I just got it in New York City here, and they text you like once a week with just like a curated like thing to do. So like for example, when I first moved here, I got a thrift shopping trip in Lower East Side, and it gave me these 6 incredible thrift shopping places. It was like one that was entirely like 80s and 90s like rocker chic clothes. There was one that was only crew necks and t-shirts, like vintage crew necks and t-shirts. There was one that was like really big into denim, and then there was another that was like high fashion vintage. And it was like, okay, first stop at such and such coffee shop, then walk down the street and turn over on the next block. That's your first destination. Once you're done there, go down the street and turn the next block. That's it. Like, and it gives you like step-by-step directions on where to go and how to do it. And at the end, it was like, okay, now that you're done shopping, here's a little Korean like. It was like a little food action, like a Korean sandwich shop to have like. And then go and eat, and like it's great. So, and like they just sent me today, I just got a text message. Look, I'm gonna tell y'all. I just got a text message today for a getaway house in Catskills, which is in northern New York.
Okay.
It says where you unplug, sit fireside, and actually see the stars, and they just gave me a code to get $75 off my stay.
Wow.
So I highly recommend you go check it out. I just found it because it popped up on my Instagram feed. So
they be getting us, man.
Hey, look, I work in social media, so at this point I'm just kind of resigned to it. You know, I'm like you. And full disclosure, as somebody who works in the industry, I'm here to tell you: if you have a Facebook page, you have an email account, if you have an Instagram account, if you have a bank statement or something that has your phone number, email, and address on it, the internet already has your information.
Yeah.
Okay. I know everybody's freaking out because the internet has their information, and they're like, the internet has had your information for years. This is not a new thing. You've been done, had it. Okay, calm down. Everybody breathe.
I love it. That's a good app. Nudge. We're gonna check that out. I wonder if it's available in our area, but it sounds super fun.
Yes, I would check it out, especially because Columbus is pretty metro, right?
That's pretty big. Yeah.
So I think they should have it for at least Columbus.
And if they don't yet, they probably are those apps are usually expanding pretty quick.
Yes, they are. It's like a relatively new app, so like of course they have it here in New York. I know they have it in Chicago, and I know they have it in LA.
Okay.
So, but I know there's like at least 6 other cities on that list that I didn't mention. So I definitely recommend checking it out. I love it. I've been using it. It's fab.
I love that suggestion. I love that question, because we get to learn all these little wrinkles about people and scavenger hunting and sort of getting out and exploring your new city. That's pretty fun stuff. And
yes, and they're
opening
very, like,
us up
diverse.
to that.
It's very diverse in what they offer. Like some of the I got a museum crawl the other day of like these weird museums in Brooklyn.
That's so fun. We're definitely gonna check. That's like gonna be the first thing I ask Rita when we get upstairs. It's like, yo,
Rita, look up
what's
Nudge.
going on? She will. She probably, knowing her, she already closed the Twitch app and is already on it. So she didn't even hear us. Like, she's already off and doing her thing.
She's downzo.
Yeah. All right, I got 2 left. Are you ready? How you feeling?
I'm ready. I'm feeling good.
I appreciate you. This has been so fun.
I appreciate you. This is so fun.
What is the best part of being you?
I am gonna toot my own horn a little bit, but
Go.
I think being able to sing.
Ooh.
I love singing, and it could also be because I love to sing, but I have worked really, 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 really hard throughout my life to be quote unquote a good singer. So I try to be like, I've worked very hard on my technical abilities.
Yeah.
My voice is pretty much like built to do like musical theater stuff, so like big band, like stuff like that, and I think that's my favorite thing to do. I get very nervous when I do it. I don't know why. That's a new thing. I've gotten, since the pandemic, it's like built this weird anxiety thing that I have now about performing live, I guess because I haven't done it in so long, and I'm like, I know I can do it, but then I'm like, ooh, it's been a while.
It's so funny. Rita gets a little bit of that too. Like the couple times that we've done like music streams here on the channel and she's like fired up on a Sunday, like the anxiety and like watching her go through it, like leading up to it, it's real. And
it's
I'm like,
stressful.
Girl, you've performed like at coffee shops for people. You've probably played on stage with a guitar in your hands over 200 times. And like
literally Will's speech to me, you're literally saying it right now.
It's so
like,
it's so interesting. But to your point, if you haven't done it in a while or you're out of practice with it, you know, it can really shake you a little bit.
Right. And like once you start, there's no stopping. Like you can't start singing and be like, oh wait, sorry. Can I start over? No. You're committed. So you need to know the words, you need to know the timing of the song. There's a whole lot of other shit.
And she always loves it. Like she fucking talks like she's in her head, and then she rocks it, and then she's fired up.
Fine.
She's like,
it's fine.
That was a blast. I loved it. I'm ready to go on next week. Like I'm doing my thing. And then like we go like 6 weeks, and it'd be like, hey, it's it's about that time. Like, what do you? I don't know. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild.
Me.
What's your favorite genre to sing? Like what? Like if we're auditioning for America's Got Talent, like what are we going to?
If I have any choice, I'm definitely singing musical theater. My go-to songs are, well, if I'm feeling fancy, I'll do Defying Gravity.
Oh, man.
If I'm feeling good about myself.
We're going Wicked, huh?
I'm feeling good about myself.
Yeah.
But if I'm just kind of like trying to live for the moment, I'm just here, I will sing a song from Anything Goes called Blow Gabriel Blow.
Okay.
Which is like normally in the music, in the show, it's like a 10-minute dance number. It's like the main character, her name is Reno Sweeney. She's like the entertainment on this cruise ship.
Yeah.
And so it's her show song.
Yeah.
So she's like, all the audience is like technically like, imagine everybody at their little white linen tables, like watching the show, and Reno's the entertainment. So that is like her entertainment song, and it kind of just like helps round out. And it's so fun. There's like a little dance number, and it changes keys a bunch of times. It's just like a lot of fun. It's pretty easy to sing, and it's upbeat and fun. I love it. Love it.
I don't know that particular one, but I do have.
It's so very obscure.
I was gonna say it's a little niche for my pop culture like high level self, but I bet like there's just so many talented people like writing these shows and setting up these soundtracks. I mean, I'm sure it's amazing.
It's crazy. And one that I have been doing recently a lot is Satisfied from Hamilton. I do that one a lot too.
Yeah, there was like a hot minute where we pretty much only sung Hamilton around the house.
Yeah.
Like mid-pandemic, it
was in it.
And Peggy, like
I just might.
We were all about the Hamilton and Peggy. Like,
and Peggy.
We were about it for a long time. We still love it. I mean, it's still good stuff.
I love it.
We were recently really, really into In the Heights though. So good. And I know that strikes a chord with you in New York. So good.
So great. Washington Heights is a real place. It does look like that.
I didn't
like that.
It's weird also too, because despite being very musical, I was not exposed to a lot of like Broadway and theater. Like,
it's niche.
I was into live music, I was into drum set, I was into marching band, but I wasn't into theater and choir and show tunes. Like, so I didn't know a lot about it. And Hamilton and In the Heights, like, I really didn't know what to expect. And then I'd leave myself being like, oh, that's why everybody's all about this shit. Like, you don't find people who are like casually into this genre.
No.
That is a full-blown obsession.
Out. You are in or out.
Yes. And I didn't grow up with it, so I don't have like this like long tenured history of knowledge, but I do have a very strong respect for it, because the ones we've caught are awesome.
Will is the same way. He is like not had any like aggressive exposure to it other than like coming to see me perform at like our high school and middle school shows. And our first date, like our first official date actually, was we watched Hamilton and ate sushi.
That's
and
so
like
fun.
That was his introduction to what is now contemporary musical theater, which is like much more it's much more user-friendly and better for people who don't know anything about musical theater to hop in, because like trying to watch Anything Goes or something that's older and much more traditional can be like, what the hell is going on? They're just people like singing out of nowhere and there's dance numbers and things are happening and it's a lot. So. Yeah,
I remember like being introduced to, was it Hairspray?
Oh my god!
Like I remember, I don't remember which one. Like I remember like being in high school and having friends who were into theater show me a couple of those things mixed with like Grease. Like you got to remember like Grease and like Grease Lightning and some of those things were like what the like pep band played. And so it's like, oh, shitty pep band music, these weird shows. There's a lot of the dancing numbers. I don't really get it, but
it's
like
weird,
Hamilton, In the Heights, like some of these, like you said, more contemporary things, I do rock with those a little bit different.
They're more user-friendly. And they're great for people who don't know anything. And if you're ever looking for another musical to watch that is in that contemporary feeling, but it's actually a lot older, Rent is a fabulous one. Book of Mormon's good. Rent is like Rent is one of the first like contemporary musicals. Hamilton can run because Rent. Yeah. I am a little bit familiar. I was a little too young for Rent. Like not too young, but heavy. like it was when it was peaking. I think I was a little younger. Like it's heavy.
Like so I don't know much about Rent. What was the one that was really popular with all the drums? Did Rent have a bunch of drumming?
With the drums?
There was like, there's one where they're just like banging on like trash cans and.
Oh yes, they do that. There is a.
Is it in Rent that they do that? And aren't they like hanging off the sides of the walls like on scaffolding and shit?
Yeah, that's the opening number.
Yes, so I remember it, and I remember like being exposed to it, but like. We didn't get that deep in it. Yeah,
it's like the whole opening number is supposed to be like this big like anarchy, because at the time there was like all-time poverty and AIDS and everything, and it's supposed to just give this like feeling of anarchy and poverty, and so they're just like banging on shit.
But to your point, Rent happens, which opens the door for a Hamilton or an In the Heights to really thrive and take off.
Oh yeah,
because it really was trailblazing.
Yes, I mean Rent is one of the most diverse shows that's ever been on Broadway before. It's one of the only shows that has had a multi-race cast that was singing contemporary music that wasn't metered in traditional show tunes. It's like a lot of rock music.
Yeah.
And it's based off another very, very, very old opera called La Boheme. So it's a fabulous musical about the struggles of poverty, living in, the era of racism, and what AIDS did to not only the gay community, but to the straight community and to everybody who was just fucking living with it and trying to deal with it, because it was, a death sentence at the time, and it's a crazy musical. It's very I'd like
to go back and watch it now. Now that I'm a little older, now that I think I would understand the main themes and I've been exposed to more, I would like to re-watch Rent.
If you have HBO Max,
we do.
It's on HBO Max.
Okay, we're gonna have to watch that. We will.
It's so good.
It's good stuff.
Let me know what you think when you do watch it.
I will. I'll let you know. Shout out everybody hanging out. You guys are crazy tonight. Happy Friday. I have one more question for Mocha, and then we're gonna let her get ready for her stream, and we'll raid out and make sure we send all the love over to her channel when she gets going. Just a little housekeeping. Everybody's been awesome about getting in your raffles. Make sure before you guys leave and dip out that you type in !enter space max. That'll take all of your tickets that you've been winning, and I'll type it the way you're supposed to type it. But if you type it the way I typed it, it'll take all your tickets and dump them into this month's giveaway, and you guys will be in a good position to potentially win some merch from the Kimbroplays store, which I love giving back and doing the thing for you guys. So
yeah.
All right, Mocha, my last question. It is always my favorite question to ask. I always save it, and I've asked every single person since the first one this question. This is like the end. Which of your friends or your family are you the most proud of, and why?
I am actually going to say my lovely boyfriend, because he is going back to school.
Oh, wow.
And that is no easy feat as somebody who recently finished their undergraduate degree.
Yeah. Shout out.
And his shit is a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very proud of him. He's going to school to be a physical therapy technician.
Okay.
Or whatever, that position is called. So I'm very, very proud of him. I'm very excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, I can tell you.
I know that's kind of an easy answer, but.
No, I mean, it just because it's the easy answer doesn't mean it's not the right answer. And, he deserves to be credited for going back to school and for, sort of trying to better his life professionally. It's, I will say, from having gone to grad school and staying in it, like, right after, the people that I watch who got done with school at any level, whether it be high school or college, and started working, trying to change that and go back to school and get back into the swing of studying and exams, and dude, hell no. I have no idea how anybody is able to do that. And credit to anybody who does. So that's awesome. We wish Will the best. Congrats to him. Go Will, go. That's it. Mocha, tell us about your stream schedule. Tell us about what you got going on your channel, your socials. Where can we find you? I've been shouting you out on Twitch, but when I chop this up and put it on YouTube, I want to let everybody over there know as well.
Oh, well, you can actually find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. They're a little bit different for each one, but more or less, if you look up Mochabutter, you can find me.
I love it.
Stream-wise, we stream Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Sundays. I just changed that.
Okay.
Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, we stream at 7 p.m. EST, and Sundays is our Sunday sip and stream.
Love
it.
So
I start at 11 a.m. EST. Woo! We normally start with ESO, have some champagne, drink some coffee, and then get drunk with my friends. It's great.
I love that. So fun. I love what you do. I love that you've always been such a positive influence in the greater Twitch community. I've never heard anybody say a bad word about you. I've never seen you be in a bad mood. And sometimes in the midst of everything, especially that was going on in the pandemic, it's nice to see somebody who is happy and excited, right? You fire up Twitch a lot of times to have an escape or to be entertained, and entertainment comes in a lot of different forms. And I know a lot of people gravitate towards rage or craziness. Not to say that you don't have some of that, but at the very least, I always catch you smiling and happy and excited to see people. And that's a major kudos and credit to you. And I'm just really happy that we've crossed paths on this Twitch journey.
Me too. Kimbro, you are so fabulous and an incredible content creator, and one that I definitely look up to. So I'm so honored and blessed to be able to be a part of this today. And I greatly thank you for all that you do. I love your content. I love watching your YouTube videos, even though I just realized today that I wasn't subscribed. So fake fan. But I love you, Kimbro. Miss Kimbro, I love your face. I love you. And I greatly appreciate, I think, AJ actually for introducing us.
I think so too.
And it's always a pleasure to watch your streams. I kind of lurk like a creep all the time, but I love you. I hope you feel better soon. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. I love it. Of course.
No, I like I told you, I couldn't have thought of somebody with better energy to sort of carry me while I'm sick through this process. So thank you so much. Big shout out to everybody in the chat for hanging out today and being here. Stick around, Mocha. How much time do you need before you fire up? I want to make sure we give you,
give me like 5 minutes. I'm gonna get all fired up around here.
That sounds good. We'll try to get over to you by like 9:15.
Sounds good.
Is
I will be
enough?
playing some GPU, so if you guys are down for some Apex, that's what we'll be doing.
I love it. All right, Mocha, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out.
Thank you, and thank you so much, everybody in chat, for hanging out today. So appreciative. It was lovely to meet all your new faces and see some old ones. Love you guys.
We love you, Mocha.
Make sure you follow Kimbro. Give him the subs. He's fab.
Go follow Mocha. We'll holler at you, sis. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
What a legend. Mocha's awesome. Shout out her. Shout out you guys for hanging out. Ninja Terry, welcome in. Thank you for hanging out. It's nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out and all the kind comments and questions and just like a general positive energy in the chat. You guys are awesome, especially like I said, while I'm giving it literally every ounce I have in the tank to not like fall asleep on camera. I don't know if you can see, like my eyes are like red as hell. My body's like, yo, bro, this is the most you've done in like 7 days. You better go. But we're gonna raid over to Mocha in a few minutes.